One day, a monster appears so powerful that it can destroy an entire city alone, and it attacks a weak village. The village gives everything it has to a group of adventurers called the Glowing Dragon Fong to defeat the monster. The heroes wait for it in the village, and Kurt is hiding behind one of the buildings. He's just a helpless man among a group of strong heroes. Suddenly, a giant wolf appears and throws him away. Bandana, the archer of the group, ties the wolf with a strong thread, but the wolf pulls her hard, slamming her into a building. Marlevis, the mage, heals her with healing magic. Quickly, Bandana ties the wolf to a tree, and leader Galnova seizes the chance and leaps with his flaming sword, burning the wolf. After the wolf's defeat, the Glowing Dragon Fong team is promoted to SSS rank, the highest rank. Later, they return to an inn, and Galnova doesn't like the village food, so he calls Kurt to prepare the meal. Unexpectedly, Bandana says today will be the last day they eat Kurt's food. Kurt is surprised and asks her what she means. Galnova replies, "You're not smart at all. It means you're fired." Kurt is shocked and asks if he did something wrong. Galnova angrily says, "No, you didn't do enough. You only do boring chores. You can't even defeat a slime." Marlevis adds, "Parties can only have 4 members. That's the law of this world. If we want to be stronger, we need to bring in a high-ranked mage." Bandana tells him, "That means we need to kick someone out of our team, and not denying that you help us and carry our bags, but basically, you're just a burden." Kurt is hurt and begs Galnova, who kicks him in the stomach as everyone laughs at him. Kurt leaves the place and travels without a destination. He goes to a place called Hello Work, which he heard hires people. He enters and asks for a job since he has no money. Inside, he meets an employee named Kirschel, who interviews him. As usual, the first question is his name and age. He says, "My name is Kurt Rokens, and I'm 15. Then she asks what kind of jobs he has done before. Sadly, he replies, "I did some chores for the Glowing Dragon Fong team." She's surprised he was with the team that recently got promoted to SSS rank. He says hopelessly, "But they fired me." She tries to cheer him up, saying that's still a good addition to his resume. Kurt feels happy that people will look at him well just because he was part of the Dragon Fong team, even if he didn't do much. Then Kirschel tells him, "Now we'll move to the aptitude test. We might discover some hidden talents." He gets excited, and she explains that ranks start from G, meaning no talent, up to SSS rank, which is the highest. A low-rank person can't cut steel, while a high-rank one like A can cut it easily with the same sword. Kurt is shocked after the test shows his rank is G. Kirschel tells him, "The results say you have no talent in any combat skill. Sorry, but this determines what jobs you can do." Kurt is very discouraged. Kirschel says, "But there's still commercial work. We haven't tested your skills in trades like blacksmithing or commerce, but you'll have to wait a week because the person in charge of that isn't here." He says, "I don't have enough money to last another week." She points to a sandbag and asks, "Can you lift that?" When he picks it up, he feels his mana being drained, and it's very heavy. She tells him, "That's enough. If you're this strong, maybe you can help with some construction work. The city on the border needs workers to repair their walls." Kurt gets excited and heads to the city. There, he meets a very strong man who looks at him strangely because of his weak body. The man says, "We're short on workers, so I can't refuse. I want you to make cement and repair the wall." Kurt is confused and thinks, "Isn't he supposed to tell me to pour mana into the cement to strengthen it?" Before he can ask, the man interrupts and says, "I'll come by in 3 hours. Make sure you've used at least half a barrel. Your pay depends on your performance, so you'll lose money if you slack off." Kurt thinks, "I guess pouring mana is so obvious he didn't even mention it." Then he looks at the barrels and says, "I'm surprised half a barrel is enough for this wall, but I'll do my best." After 3 hours, the man returns and is shocked that Kurt finished a third of the massive west wall in just 3 hours. Kurt tells him, "Sorry, the cement ran out, so that's all I could do." The man asks, "How did you deal with the upper parts of the wall? I don't see any ladders or scaffolds." Kurt says, "I gathered the cement, threw it into place, and then rolled it with this tool I made." The man gets mad and says, "There's no way you did all that," but realizes Kurt actually did. He asks, "How long are you planning to work here?" Kurt says, "I hope I can work here for about a week." The man gives him his wage and says, "That's enough for today. I'll transfer the rest of your payment through Hello Work." Kurt is very happy with the amount and excited for the next day. After 2 days, everyone is shocked that the northern and western walls are finished. The man tells Kurt, "You don't need to come here anymore." Kurt is surprised and says, "But it's only been 3 days, and we agreed on a week." He replies, "Fixing these walls was supposed to provide work for other poor people. If you stay here longer, there won't be any work left for them. You work way too fast, and the ability you showed is equal to SS rank, if not SSS." He gives him the rest of his wage and leaves him. Kurt is discouraged. He returns to hello work, and Kirschel tells him, "What do we do? There are still a few days left until the officials arrive." Suddenly, they hear a woman angrily talking to another employee. The employee says, "No one will take the job under these conditions." Kirschel goes to check what's going on, and the employee explains that the woman wants a minor but wants to pay based on production with no upfront payment. Kirschel tells the woman, who is called Yul Shia, "If you insist on these conditions, I suggest hiring investors to develop the mine." Yul Shia angrily replies, "If I don't pay taxes within a week, they'll take the mountain from me." Kurt steps in and says, "I'll take the job. I used to work in mines in my village." Kirschel is surprised and tells him, "Are you sure? You might not get paid for this work." Yul Shia says, "Wait, I was expecting a strong dwarf, not a weak kid like this." Kurt feels discouraged and Kirschel replies, "In that case, you'll need to prepare at least 10 silver coins." Yul Shia is forced to agree and takes Kurt with her. After they leave, the other employee tells Kirschel, "This is the remaining construction payment for Kurt." Kirschel looks at it and is shocked by the large amount, which turns out to be 200 gold coins. She stumbles over the sandbags on the ground and asks in surprise, "Why is there sand here?" Another employee replies, "Those aren't sandbags. They're used to measure the mana in a person's body. They get heavier the more mana a person has." Then she asks her, "Can you move them from here?" Kirschel tries to lift one and finds it light. She remembers that Kurt couldn't lift it and realizes that his mana must be very high. Meanwhile, Kurt and Yul Shia arrive at the campsite. He's surprised there's only one tent and asks her, "Are we both sleeping inside?" She asks, "Do you move a lot while sleeping?" He replies, "No, but I can't sleep in the same tent as a lovely woman like you." She blushes and asks, "Are you teasing me?" He says, "I've traveled the whole world and never seen anyone more beautiful or charming than you." She gets flustered and says, "Don't say more than that. I've been an adventurer since I was 10. I can't be called charming." She gives him food, and he asks, "Did you make this? It's been a long time since someone cooked for me." He remembers how Galnova and the others never let him eat with them. At night, he can't sleep in the tent, so he goes outside. Yul Shia is awake and sees him, and thinks to herself, "I was testing whether or not he'd try anything on me since we'll be spending a whole week together." The next day, she wakes up and finds him sleeping outside. She looks at her clothes and finds they've been repaired. When Kurt wakes up, she asks him, "Did you fix my clothes?" He replies, "Yes," and she's surprised and thinks to herself, "This boy clearly doesn't belong here." Then he asks her, "Have you decided where we'll start digging?" She says no, but suggests trying a nearby spot. He replies, "You won't find what you're looking for if you dig randomly. In that case, I want to take a quick look around." After a while, he finds a rock and tells her, "This is what we need." He breaks it and they find gemstones worth about 3 gold coins. Yul Shia is amazed, and Kurt quickly gathers a large number of gemstones. Yul Shia asks, "The next step is selling these, right?" He replies, "No, we can't." She assumes he means they belong to him since he found them. He says, "We have to turn them into magic crystals first." She tells him, "I heard only 10 magical artisans in the kingdom can do that." Kurt surprises her by saying he already did it. She tells him, "I heard that making one takes at least an hour." He's shocked to learn that professionals can pour mana continuously for an hour and says, "I don't have that much mana, so I can't do that." By sunset, he finishes turning all the gemstones into magic crystals. Yul Shia takes them to sell and tells him, "I'll be back in the morning." She goes to the teleportation station and the staff member asks, "Do you have the required documents for crystals coming from outside?" She tells him they were produced locally. He asks curiously, which workshop made them? She shows him an adventurer's badge under royal service. He apologizes, takes the crystals, and lets her use the teleportation stone. She arrives in the capital and goes to her friend's shop. She shows her one crystal, and when she holds it, she says, "Its glow isn't strong, so it's not worth much, maybe just 10 silver coins." Then she notices something and runs a test. She comes back and tells Yul Shia, "I'll buy it for 10 gold coins." Yul Shia is shocked and asks why. She explains that the crystal contains 10 times the usual amount of mana and was made in a way that prevents any mana leakage. That's why its glow isn't strong. Yul Shia says, "I have 49 more, so the merchant gives her 500 gold coins and tells her, "I have 2 requests. First, don't sell these crystals anywhere but my shop, because I doubt any other store will recognize their true value. And our kingdom definitely doesn't want crystals this powerful being traded openly. Second, tell me who made them. Whoever can make crystals like this should serve the kingdom directly. Or are you trying to monopolize them for your own profit?" Yulshia says, I can't tell you. I can't give out any information about him without his permission. The merchant says, this is an order under my authority as a court mage, equivalent to a count. Yulshia replies, I'm not officially working under the royal family, so I'm not obligated to obey your orders. The merchant says, but you had no problem using your former status like you did at the teleportation station. Yulshia doesn't reply and glares at her. The merchant says, then I'll ask as your friend, please do what you can to stop him from traveling to any other country. Tell him we can offer him the position of director of the Royal Magical Technology Research Lab. He'll receive the title of Baron, maybe even Count, depending on the king's decision. Yulshia says, okay, and leaves. She's confused and still can't believe that they paid 500 gold coins and want to make Kurt the lab director and a count. She goes to Kirschel, and both say at the same time, I want to ask you something about Kurt. Yulshia asks first, who exactly is Kurt? Kirschel says, sorry, but it's our duty to protect our client's information. Yulshia shows her the royal family's badge. Kirschel tells her everything she knows. Yulshia gives her the 499 gold coins and says, deposit them into Kurt's account, and I'm ordering you as an adventurer under the royal family not to give any information about Kurt to anyone. The next day, Yulshia returns to Kurt and finds a strange wooden house. She asks, what's this? And he says, I built it while you were in town. She asks in surprise, what do you think about building a whole house in just one night? He replies, everyone in my village used to do that normally. She's stunned and thinks to herself, that can't possibly be normal. The next day, the glowing Dragon Fang team is fighting a massive monster, but things aren't going well, and Galnova can't use his fire magic. He angrily tells Marlevis, heal me quickly, and she replies, I'm already doing that, but my power is weaker than usual. He looks at the rookie they brought in to replace Kurt and asks, can you use fire magic? The rookie replies, you said you could, and Galnova gets furious and yells, you're useless. Bandana looks at them and thinks to herself, this team is done, and she smirks slyly. Meanwhile, Yulshia tells Kurt about what the merchant Mimiko said, and he's surprised and asks, all that happened? She tells him, the person I asked to evaluate the crystals you made is a merchant working at the royal court. He's shocked and asks, are you sure she's not tricking you? She says, I know it's hard to believe, but what do you think? He replies, sorry, it's a good offer, but I'll have to decline. He thinks to himself, I can't imagine working in a position that puts me above others. There's still a part of me that wants to return to the glowing Dragon Fang. He tells her, my current job is working here, and asks, weren't the magic crystals you sold enough to pay off your debts? She replies, I sold them for a big amount, but since I didn't make them myself, I only took 1 gold coin as the seller and put the rest into your account. If I had taken such a huge amount, the guilt would have killed me. Then she says, I want you to keep mining the ore we found, and he replies, leave it to me. I found a good type yesterday. She says, but you didn't sleep. He replies, no, I had a good 6 hours of sleep. She's shocked and wonders how he built the house in such a short time and still slept 6 hours. He assumes she's thinking he slept too much and says to himself, back when I was with the glowing Dragon Fang, I only slept 4 hours a night. They always told me I was responsible for the chores, so I had to wake up early and sleep late. He tells her, I promise I'll make up for the rest time, and she's stunned by his words. Then he takes her to the place he scouted yesterday and tells her, based on the terrain, we'll definitely find deposits of the ore we're looking for, but please don't dig more than 50 meters. I'm going to dig in the place where we found the big crystal yesterday. By sunset, Yulshia finds a metal called topaz, which sells for 3 gold coins. She thinks to herself, maybe I can ask Kurt to turn it into a magic crystal for free, then I can achieve my goal. But she reconsiders and feels guilty about taking advantage of him. She goes to Kurt and thinks to herself, knowing him, I expect he built a full mining tunnel. When she arrives, she's shocked to find he actually built one. She enters and is even more surprised when she sees how massive it is. Kurt appears, and she asks, what's the result? He tells her, sorry, all I extracted were useless rocks. I only found shards of the ore I'm looking for. She asks, what useless rocks did you find? He says, it's called mithril, and I can extract a lot of it, so it's worthless. In my village, we harvest so much of it that we just throw it away. She's shocked and thinks to herself, that's more valuable than gold and platinum. It's extremely rare in the whole world, and he says he throws it away. Then she asks him, what ore were you looking for? He replies, orichalcum. She's surprised and asks, the legendary ore? I can't believe something like that is here in the mountain. He says, you can't mine it from just anywhere. You usually have to dig 7 kilometers underground to find it. She asks in disbelief, you dug 7 kilometers in 8 hours and came back to the surface? He replies, yes. and I filled the hole too. She's stunned he did all that in just 8 hours and notices that he dug a tunnel to the end of the mountain. The next day, they return to Samela City, and the tunnel he built becomes officially recognized because it connects Samela City with Taikon City. Yulshia takes advantage of that and has merchants use it with tolls, so the profit will cover her taxes. Bandana appears before Kurt as he's walking and tells him, "I don't trust the glowing dragon Fong anymore." We go back in time, and Galnova is in a restaurant, unhappy with the food. He gets angry, wrecks the place, and leaves. Bandana stops him, and he angrily asks, "We still have the smoked meat Kurt made before he left, right?" She says, "No, it's all gone." He puts his sword to her neck and says, "Bring Kurt back and make him cook for us. If he resists, I don't care if you hurt him a little." She says, "Okay," quickly takes his teleportation stone and leaves. The guards are looking for him, and she thinks to herself, "I guess he'll be arrested for the chaos he caused at the restaurant. Marlavis is lucky she got summoned before this happened." Back to the present, Bandana thinks to herself, "I won't tell him any of that. I'll just say I got kicked out. I don't want my target of observation to get involved in this mess." Kurt says, "I can't believe you were kicked out. Now I absolutely can't go back to the team." She asks, "Why are you so attached to that team?" He replies, "Because I owe Galnova, and I respect him deeply." She says, "Since you're heading to Hello Work, that means you're looking for a job. I know someone who needs help and is struggling in their workshop. The workshop is a place that produces potions, magical swords, and magical devices. The person in charge has to be a master artisan and get special rights for development and distribution, not to mention being treated like someone of count status. Watch from 1113. Only 15 artisans there have official state certification. One amazing person there is in trouble, so if you go to them, it would be a huge help." She gives him a map to the place and leaves. She thinks to herself, becoming an apprentice of the great sage is no easy task. He goes there and knocks. A young elf girl opens the door, and he's surprised that the master artisan is a little girl. She says, "I'm the assistant to the master artisan, and my name is Michelle Lalakota." He tells her, "I came to help as Bandana asked me to." Michelle gets really happy and quickly takes him to the kitchen. He smells something awful, and she tells him, "Sorry, I want you to help clean up this place because I haven't been able to clean it for over 3 weeks due to being busy." He realizes he came here to help with cleaning, and someone calls for Michelle, so she leaves. In just half an hour, Kurt cleans the entire place, and with nothing left to do, he decides to take a walk around the house and look for Michelle. He finds a door to a room, knocks, and enters. Suddenly, he sees a strange girl in front of him, so he introduces himself and apologizes to her. She tells him Olivia went downstairs. He notices something strange on her stomach and asks her what it is. She tells him it's a curse. He examines it and thinks to himself, "I didn't feel any pain when I touched it. That means the curse has eaten away her body so badly that she no longer feels pain, and her organs are severely damaged." Then he hears her stomach growl and realizes she's hungry, so he tells her he'll make her something to eat. At the same time, Yulshia is with Mimiko and asks her how much the stuff they found in the tunnel is worth. Mimiko replies, 50,000 gold coins. Yulshia is surprised and tells her, "That's an exaggeration." Mimiko replies, "Because of the mithril and orichalcum, I still can't believe they even exist." Yulshia asks, "What if word gets out about what we found?" Mimiko answers, "If he's lucky, they'll abduct him. In the worst case, they'll try to assassinate him." She asks, "How did that wild kid manage to hide all this time?" Yulshia says, "I heard he was kicked out of the glowing dragon Fong." Mimiko says, "I heard he's wanted now," and asks, "What are you planning to do with him?" Yulshia replies, "I hope to make him a master artisan and be his personal guardian. The real question is, how do I convince him to accept that he's not aware of his abilities and always underestimates himself?" Meanwhile, Ophelia enters the kitchen while Kurt is preparing the food. He says, "Sorry for using your kitchen without permission." She tells him it's fine and asks, "Who's this food for?" He replies, "For the girl in the back room. She's really hungry." She tells him, "Don't talk about that girl to anyone. Promise me." He promises, and she gives him his pay and tells him, "That's enough for today, you can go." As he leaves, she thinks to herself, "I can't believe I let her talk to a stranger." She takes the food upstairs to the girl and tells her, "You're not supposed to look out the window so no one sees you." Just before the girl starts eating, Ophelia says, "Wait, I'll taste it first in case it's poisoned." The girl replies, "No need. Wasn't it that man who made it?" Ophelia says, "You've only known him for half an hour." The girl says, "Since I got cursed, I've doubted everyone around me, but today I want to trust at least one person." She eats the food and likes it. Suddenly, she feels intense pain, starts choking, and collapses on the ground. Ophelia gets furious, and just before she goes to get the antidote, the girl says, "I'm fine," then stands up and says, "I've been cured of the curse." Ophelia is shocked and doesn't believe it. At the same time, a cloaked person is apologizing to his master because the curse was broken. He says he'll place another curse immediately, but the master replies, "They won't wait any longer. They've started using other methods. Lizelot must die soon." A while later, Ophelia and Lizelot go to Mimiko's store, and Ophelia tells her, "I came to discuss something important." Mimiko says, "You can trust Yulshia." Then Lizelot removes her cloak, and both Mimiko and Yulshia kneel because she's the third princess. Mimiko says to Lise, "I heard you were ill." Ophelia says, "Sorry I lied to you. She wasn't sick. She was afflicted by a powerful curse, and someone is trying to assassinate her because she's the only surviving child of His Majesty the King." Princess Francois married into the Gurimako Empire in the east, and her existence is a symbol of peace between the two nations, and someone is trying to destroy that relationship. After the end of our conflict with the north, I'm certain someone wants to ignite a new war. Mimiko hugs the princess and asks her, "How did you manage to break such a strong curse?" The princess replies, "It was thanks to someone named Kurt." Mimiko and Yulshia are both shocked, so they head back to the house and hold a meeting to figure out what's going on and decide what to do. Ophelia explains what happened with Kurt and how he healed the princess. Mimiko tells them that the person who tried to assassinate the princess must be someone connected to the curse user and has the ability to manipulate the palace guards. That means there are 3 suspects: Sonova, the first general of the scouting forces, or Tristan, the castle's warden, or Isadora, the king's third wife. Olivia tells her that Tristan can use his followers to manipulate the guards, and Liz says her stepmother has full freedom to roam the palace. She asks if that means Sonova is definitely not involved, but Yulishia tells her no because he has ties to the Thieves Guild, who are experts at gathering intel, and they surely have men inside the royal palace. Olivia says then we'll need to set a trap. Since Liz just celebrated her 15th birthday, tradition says she must travel to train for a year, so we'll create a fake artisan workshop and send Liz to train there, and then the culprit will start gathering intel about the artisan master. If he's real and exists, they'll quickly collect info about him, but since he's fake, they'll find nothing at all. The more they dig, the closer we get to the culprit. But we'll also need some achievements to have the artisan recognized. Yulishia tells them she has just the thing and gives them one of the crystals Kurt made. Olivia is amazed by it and asks who made such a high-quality crystal. She tells her it was Kurt. The next day, Kurt goes to the workshop to clean up but finds it closed, and Michelle shows up and tells him that after he left yesterday, her master left the house and hasn't returned since, so there's nothing to help with today. Kurt leaves feeling down and, feeling hungry, he goes to a restaurant to eat. In the restaurant, he overhears 3 adventurers arguing. One of them, named Sina, says to Kans, "What are we gonna do? We have to deliver it today." Kans tells her, "There's nothing we can do. The doctor said he needs a week to recover, and without our carrier, we can't accept the mission." She replies, "I'm telling you, we can't afford the mission refusal fee. We'll have to drag it ourselves, just the 3 of us." He snaps back, "If an enemy attacks us while we're dragging it and we have no defense, we'll all die." Kurt decides to help them with the mission. Sina tells him, "A kid like you surely can't handle the responsibility of a carrier," and Kan says, "She's right. Being a carrier isn't easy, especially when we travel to hunt iron imps that weigh over 200 kilos. You need specific skills to lift them." Kurt tells them, "I can handle 200 kilos just fine. If I lift both of you, that'll prove I can do it." And then he lifts Danzo and Kans, who is wearing armor that weighs 150 grams. So they agree to take him along. On the way, they introduce themselves to him. Kan starts by saying, "I'm a warrior, and I've got a sword, though it's mostly for show." Danzo says, "I'm a samurai, and I'm the leader of this group." Sina tells him, "I'm the guard, and our party is called Sakura." Kurt gets really happy to have found work with such nice people. Then Kans tells him, "We have one more member named Bipanak, but the doctor said he needs a week of rest to recover from the fever." On their way to the mission, Kurt steps on a slime and gets really scared, so Sina tells him with surprise, "It's just a slime. Break its core, and you'll kill it." He pulls out his dagger and tries, but ends up hurting himself. Sina yells at him and says, "You said you don't know how to fight, but you're seriously bad." Kurt feels discouraged, and Kans tries to comfort him, saying, "Don't worry at all. Leave the fighting to us. Your job is pulling things. We need you safe until then." Kurt is surprised they're not mad at him even though he failed, unlike what he was used to with the blazing dragon fang, so he cries, Then they enter a cave and suddenly a goblin appears in front of them. They kill it very quickly and Kurt is amazed by their strength. But before the goblin dies, it calls the rest of the goblins and they hear a strange screaming sound. Kan says the situation is bad. They never heard about a huge colony here. Then they hear the sound coming from the entrance too, and there's no room to escape. Danzo says it's time they prove themselves. Kurt suddenly finds a secret passage in the wall, but he's shocked that only Sina entered and shut the door. Kens tells him, there's no way we can escape from that number while searching for an exit. You go ahead of us, and please take care of Sina. Kurt says, no, I'll fight with you, and Sina shuts him up, saying, you couldn't even beat a slime. If you stay with them, you'll just slow them down. Kurt gets upset and cries because he's weak. Kens tells them, don't fight with each other, and asks Danzo, do you regret this? Danzo replies, surprised, of course not. Don't tell me you regret it. Kan says, no way. Dying to protect my little sister is the greatest honor an older brother could have. How could we regret fighting to protect our friends? Kurt cries because they considered him their friend. Then Sina lights up the place and is shocked by a huge iron dragon in front of her. Meanwhile, Yulishia takes Princess Liz to Kurt's house and tells her, you can't let him know you're a princess. Treat him like a normal person. When they enter, they don't find him inside. Suddenly, they hear a voice saying, Kurt's not here. He's in the eastern caves with Team Sakura, and it's Bandana's voice while she's in disguise. Yulishia tells Liz, if that's true, then there was a combat training held in that place recently, so there's big danger there because of the goblins who escaped during training. So they rush over there, and Liz finds Kurt's tracks, so they follow them quickly until the end. She uses enhancement magic to boost her senses, and she smells Kurt's scent and follows it. They hear the sound of battle behind one of the doors, so Liz enhances Yulishia's physical abilities, and Yulishia goes in and wipes out all the goblins and saves Danzo and Kans. At the same time, Sina feels guilty and apologizes to Kurt for bringing him here and forcing her team to accept the mission. Kurt tells her, don't worry, we'll escape easily, and he pulls out his dagger and moves toward the dragon. The dragon attacks him quickly with its tail, but Kurt strikes specific spots on the dragon, and they break easily. Sina is stunned, unable to believe how easily he's taking them down. After he's done, he tells her, I'm used to mining iron goblins, and Yulishia bursts in to save them. Sina tells her, still shocked, he took them all down with a single dagger strike, and Yulishia is shocked too. Kurt runs to Yulishia and says, please, save Danzo and Kans, and she assures him she did and that their injuries aren't serious. She says to herself, I heard legends of a man with a G-rank talent in combat and an S-rank talent in harvesting using a sickle who could defeat a dragon, but is that really possible? Then they go to Danzo and Kans, who tell them, our team member was the one who told us about this mission, but we never heard anything about that number of goblins escaping from the training that happened here. Danzo thanks her for saving them, and she tells them there's no need and that there's something more important she needs to discuss. She tells Kurt that there's going to be a new artisan workshop soon, and she'll be working there as an adventurer. She asks him, what do you think? Will you come with me? I heard you did something amazing at Ophelia's house. He tells her, but I'm working with Team Sakura now, and Kans tells him, this is a great opportunity. Don't worry about us. You should take it. Yulishia tells them, I've been asked to get labor and hire some adventurers, so what do you think? Will you join us? They all get excited about the idea. Before they leave, Yulishia tells Kurt, what do you think about taking a talent test when we get there? You need to know what your talents are. He remembers he had planned to do that when the artisan examiners from Hello Work arrive, so he agrees. The next day, he meets Mimiko, who introduces herself and tells him, I've been assigned to evaluate talents, and I heard you came with a recommendation from Ophelia, and I saw your magic crystal, so I requested to meet you personally. That night, Kurt celebrates with Team Sakura for their great achievement, and Mimiko tells Yulishia, I told Kurt he's rank B in cleaning, cooking, and mining, and rank C in all other things. Yulishia asks her, and what are the real results? She tells her, Hello Work can measure skills from G to S, meaning anything beyond that is rank SSS, and when I measured his talents, they were all rank SSS, and his magic power is way higher than mine. Yulishia tells her, just as I expected, and that means his abilities are enough for us to assign him as the secret artisan master. Mimiko says, we're lucky that I'm the one who evaluated his talents. If word gets out, who knows what might happen. Then Kirschel enters, and Mimiko tells her, you're annoyed that his rank is SSS, right? And they tease her. And they all set off on the mission riding in a carriage, and Kurt was very impressed by its speed. Felicia told him, we arranged this trip using the authority of the artisan's master. Then Lizelot said, there are no teleportation stones in the city we're heading to, even though it was originally a military base on the border of the demon's land. And even though the new deputy king hasn't been appointed yet, it's still an important city, and the alliance continues to support it. Danzo said, and we'll be the special party for a new artisan in this important city. Kans replied, that's a bit much for us. Felicia told him, we chose you because of your abilities. But on the other hand, Senna wasn't happy with what was said and didn't agree with the mission. She also suspected they weren't chosen with good intentions and that they were picked just to shut them up. And when they reached the city, Kurt was surprised it was the city where he built the wall in 3 days and got fired from the job, so he got upset. After that, they went to a completely empty plot, and strangely, Felicia told them, from today, this is the artisan's workshop that will be your base. They were all shocked by her words and asked her, what are we supposed to do? She told them, wait at the hotel until the workshop is finished. Suddenly, she asked Kurt, can you build an artisan's workshop here by yourself? But he told her, sorry, I can build a wooden house. Sure, but an artisan's workshop in 1 day is impossible. I could do it in about 3 days. They were all shocked again. Felicia told him, take your time, even if it takes more than 3 days, and if you need anything, just ask me. So he took out a paper and wrote down his requests. She told him, it'll take 2 days, but I'll get it for you. And Senna was upset and didn't understand anything. And before they left, Felicia told Kurt, don't forget to go back to the hotel to eat and get some good rest. And after they left, Felicia held a meeting with the rest. Senna asked her angrily, you're going to tell them what happened in the cave, right? Kans and Danzo were surprised and asked her, what's going on? So she told them, Kurt defeated all the iron goblins alone and said he's used to mining those goblins since childhood. They were all shocked, and Senna asked Felicia, tell us, who exactly is this Kurt, and who are you guys too? Then Felicia started herself and told them, I'm an adventurer who used to serve under the royal family. Then Lizelot stood up, said her full name, and pulled out a dagger with the royal family's crest on it, which shocked them. She said, I'm the 3rd princess of this kingdom. Kens jumped from his seat, and she tried to calm them down and explained that she hid her identity for certain reasons and asked them to treat her as Liz for now. Senna asked, so is Kurt also from the royal family? Felicia replied, no. In fact, even we don't know who he really is. What we do know is that all his combat skills are rank G, but all his non-combat skills like mining and transport are rank SSS, the rank everyone doubts even exists. But Kurt doesn't know anything about that truth, and we hid it from him and told him he's rank G or maybe B at most. And to be honest, the new artisan master is Kurt himself, and that's also a secret. Senna asked her angrily, why are you deceiving him? Felicia told her, even if we told him the truth, he wouldn't believe us, and more importantly, if the villains found out about his talents, they'd start plotting to use him. Senna replied angrily, you two are already using him. Kens tried to calm her down, and Liz said, Kurt was able to break the curse on me thanks to the food he made for me. Felicia added, someone is trying to kill Liz. So the reason we chose the city to build a new workshop is to expose the enemy and identify the mastermind behind all this. And Kurt knows nothing about it, Liz continued. And when he helped me break the curse, he didn't even know who I was and didn't ask for anything in return. Felicia told them, Kurt is very kind and always puts others before himself, and that's why I want to protect this boy. Then Liz asked the adventurers to protect him and told them, not as the princess, but as his friend. Danzo replied, it's a knight's duty to obey the royal family, but we're adventurers, and we don't have that obligation. Still, we're friends who fought and risked our lives alongside Kurt. Kans added, we don't need a reason to protect our friends. Danzo said, right, and as his friend, I'll protect him and protect both of you as well. But Senna hesitated and told them, but we only met them a few days ago, and we don't know anything about Kurt. Felicia told her, I understand how you feel. Senna got upset and asked her, how can you say that? Don't say things you don't mean. She replied, it's only been 6 days since I met Kurt too. They were all surprised, and Senna walked away. And when she went out, she thought about what they said and told herself, Kurt must know the truth. And when she went to him, she was shocked that he had made such a huge achievement in just a few hours. She asked him, you dug all this alone? He replied, yeah, I'm rank B in mining. She thought to herself, even rank B holders can't do this, and told him, you're amazing. He said, no, in my village, dozens of buildings could be built in a single day, so I'm still slow. Senna was even more shocked and asked him, aren't you upset about being assigned this job? He replied with confidence, no one forced me to do it, so of course I'm not upset. On the contrary, I'm happy, because in my old party, they always called me useless and I got kicked out. But now I'm happy because someone like me can finally prove he has value. Senna remembered when Felicia said, Kurt is very kind, and that's why I want to protect him, and she understood what she meant and changed her mind. At the same time, Danzo was meeting their informant who was Bandana, and she told him, Baibanuki, also known as the Man of 1,000 Faces, he mimics villain skills and sneaks into adventurer parties. He already destroyed so many parties. So most likely, before your last mission, he joined with the intent to destroy Sakura's party. And surely the one who sent him is a party that hates you because you took their jobs recently. The details are in the paper you're holding. Later that night, in one of the restaurants, Baibanuki was sitting and saying to himself, I didn't expect those idiots from Sakura to survive the mission I sent them on, but I heard they got hired at an artisan workshop connected to the third princess. So if I destroy them, I'll get a lot of money. Danzo, sitting at another table, replied, sounds like a great plan. Baibanuki answered without even looking to see who said that, of course, I can find many clients who want to destroy the achievements of the third princess. Suddenly, he looked behind him and saw Danzo and panicked, running away quickly, but he tripped on an invisible thread that Danzo had set as a trap. Danzo approached him and said, You've always been clever, so I'm sure you knew there was a goblin colony there. Baibanuki begged him to let him live and told him, We're friends. Danzo quickly drew his sword, and just before cutting his head off, he stopped his hand. Baibanuki was terrified, and Danzo told him, I don't consider you a friend, and if you ever come near my friends again, I'll kill you without hesitation. Bandana was watching from afar and was upset that Danzo didn't kill him. Just as she was about to do it herself, two people from Phantom, the intelligence unit under Mimiko, appeared. A crow arrived carrying a message for Bandana, and she thought to herself, I have to go to Kurt's village. 2 days later, Kans and Danzo were standing there, not believing whether it was a dream or reality, because they saw the mansion that Kurt built in just 3 days. When they entered, Kurt gave them a tour, and they were even more shocked because he built a water generation station, made fully furnished bedrooms, and created a lighting system that could last for years. After that, he asked Felicia, when are we going to meet the artisan master? She got nervous and told him, he's very busy, so he'll be a bit late. Then she asked him, by the way, where's your room? He said, I'm just someone doing household chores, so I thought I'd sleep in the break room next to the kitchen. They all replied at once, impossible. So they took him to choose a room to sleep in until the artisan master arrived, but he refused, thinking he didn't deserve it. After many attempts, he agreed to sleep in the artisan master's room until he showed up. Then Felicia asked him, can you put an anti-curse barrier around the mansion? He replied, unfortunately, that's too hard for me. So she had to use the anti-curse spells that Mimiko had given them. The next day, Kurt made them breakfast, and they were all surprised it was so delicious. Suddenly, Kurt disappeared, and Liz told them. He said he saw some strange marks, so he went to wipe them with a cloth. Felicia was shocked and ran quickly to stop him before he erased the anti-curse spells, even though Mimiko had told her they could never be erased. But the shock was that he could erase them easily. Felicia was confused about what to do, because she didn't have any more spells and Mimiko still had a few days before she could arrive. So, would she be able to protect her until then? On the other side, Marvelous was standing in front of the castle lord who told her she was expelled, shocking Marvelous and terrifying her even more because she had reached a high rank. The lord explained the reason, saying that the party she belonged to, called the Blazing Dragon Fong, had shown great failure in their missions, and more importantly, their leader was now a wanted criminal, and he feared for his castle's reputation. Marvelous responded, saying, but none of that is my fault. Maybe I once unleashed my lightning magic in a restaurant, but that was punishment for the place that served us terrible food. He angrily replied that the reputation she had brought would stain their castle. Marvelous felt sad for all the effort she had made to raise the castle's reputation, especially since she had joined those adventurers just to achieve accomplishments for the castle. Strangely, he added, still, we greatly value your magic skills, and that's why if you complete the next mission perfectly, you will not only stay with us, but your rank will also rise. Marvelous became very excited, and the Lord poured her a glass of juice and handed it to her. She drank it, and suddenly, he smirked wickedly and said, I order you to help us assassinate the third princess, Lieslot. Marvelous was shocked again and then felt severe pain in her stomach, caused by the curse the Lord had put in her drink. He told her the curse would make her body unable to accept anything but water, meaning she had 1 month before dying of starvation, unless she fulfilled the mission, at which point the curse would be lifted. Marvelous woke up to find the demon king himself in front of her. At the same time, Elisha was thinking that no changes had happened to the princess after Kurt erased the curse barriers, and she wondered why no one had attacked her again yet. She got confused to the point that she even thought maybe the food was protecting her from curses. She reassured herself with the idea that Mimiko had set up an intelligence network in the city, so if anything happened, they would know beforehand. Meanwhile, Lise was really enjoying Kurt's cooking and said to him, "Please make me that dish you made before if I ever get cursed." He smiled, happy with her words, and said, "You don't need to worry about curses anymore." Elisha was surprised and asked him, "How? Didn't you say you couldn't create a curse-repelling barrier around the house?" He replied, "Of course, I couldn't make a barrier because the castle itself reflects curses, so it's hard to make another barrier inside it. But I made a simple adjustment. Instead of curses reflecting, the attacker would now glow. That way, if I just let them get cursed, I would feel guilty." Elisha got up to tell Mimiko this so she would be informed. Afterward, Kurt asked Lise, "How about we walk around the city a little? You haven't left the castle since you got here." Lise got sad because she really wanted to go with him, but she couldn't because of the danger, so she said, "Sorry, but not today," making Kurt feel like something was wrong. Meanwhile, the curse maker was standing in front of his boss, telling him, "It took time, but this time I'll curse her with the curse of death and finish her off." At that very moment, Ophelia sensed the curse, and suddenly the curse maker's whole body started glowing because of what Kurt had done. Elsewhere, General Red was standing on the wall, the same person who had once hired Kurt to build the city's walls but fired him after 3 days because Kurt finished the work suspiciously fast. Generic, one of his army members, approached him and asked, "Why are you tense? Are you afraid of the monsters?" He told him, surprised, "You shouldn't worry because the wall works are complete." But Red replied, "This city is very important. That's why I personally supervised the construction to ensure no spy would tamper with it." Meanwhile, Mimiko, Elisha, and Ophelia were standing in front of the glowing corpse of the curse maker. Ophelia guessed that when they saw how bright the glow was, they decided to kill him, and the curse reflector was so strong that the corpse kept glowing even after death. She said, "If Kurt fully cooperated with us, we could end this today." But Elisha anxiously replied, "No, please don't. We've already dragged him into too much without him knowing. I don't want to put that boy in even greater danger." Mimiko said she would handle the investigation herself, and most importantly, that Lise must not leave the workshop at all during this period. Suddenly, a massive attack from skeletal monsters happened outside the city, and they were getting closer and closer to the walls with their overwhelming numbers. At the same time, Mimiko's network relayed the information, and they realized what was happening outside. On the other side, Red told Generic to start evacuating the citizens, but he suggested they fight because skeletons were weak. Red refused and said, "Priority is to protect the citizens." Suddenly, they saw the skeletons pass through the walls without their weapons and disappear. Red remembered that Kurt had built the north and west gates, and everyone was shocked, not understanding what was happening. Meanwhile, the Demon King told the exhausted Marvelous, "Don't die yet, the first wave failed, but in the second and third waves, we'll use your magic power to summon them." Marvelous was bewildered at how the Lord had made a contract with the Demon King and used him to kill the princess. The Demon King absorbed her energy to produce the skeletons and told her, "These ruins we're in used to be used for demon summoning, so it's the perfect place for creating monsters, and it seems you don't have as much magic energy as that golden barrel-like lord claimed, but if I use your soul as fuel, that'll be enough." Marvelous realized it was all a trap. The next day, Elisha told Kurt that the city was surrounded by monsters from all sides, and even if they called for reinforcements, flying monsters could still get through. She thought about the information they received from the intelligence network that the source of these monsters was the ruins of Lapida, and the knights were now working on a strategy to raid those ruins, but they couldn't move recklessly with these numbers. Lise said to Elisha, "I heard there was an attack last night," and Elisha replied, "Yes, but the strange thing was that once they touched the walls, it was like they were purified." Kurt replied that purifying monsters upon touching the walls was common in his village, making Elisha laugh because that's exactly what she expected from something Kurt had built. She thought that if the monsters touched the parts Kurt hadn't built, they would be in trouble. An idea came to her, and she told Kurt to stay with Lise and take care of her. Then she left. She went to retrieve the crystals Kurt had made earlier and headed to Elrid with Mimiko and Ophelia. As soon as Elrid saw her, he welcomed her warmly and said, "I heard you joined the new workshop in this city." He asked her who her companions were, and she replied, "This is a royal court mage, and this is Ophelia, a master artisan." Elrid quickly connected the dots since he knew that Ophelia had recommended the new master artisan. He asked her, "So, the workshop where the princess went for training is here?" Elisha answered, "Yes, but I came to you for something else. I have a plan. I want you and your soldiers to act as bait for the monsters while I infiltrate the ruins and eliminate the source." He agreed, but on the condition that he go with her, which made generic object because it was extremely dangerous. Elrid told him, "We must lead the attack, and you will act as bait. This mission is critical, and I can't trust anyone else to handle it." He asked Mimiko and Ophelia for help in protecting the city, and they agreed. He ordered his soldiers to move to their positions and said to Generic, "You look upset, but I'm not changing my strategies." Generic filled 2 cups with water, handed one to Elrid and said, "Normally, we drink these 2 cups before we set off as a farewell and then break them." He poured out his water and said, "But this is not a farewell. Both of us will survive and return home for sure." Elrid nodded and poured out his cup too. Meanwhile, Kurt was feeling very frustrated and thought about something an old man in his village once said. The forging of iron strengthens your heart and lets you reflect on yourself. He remembered that the old man used to forge swords with amazingly sharp blades, so he tried to forge a sword like his. A flood of frustrating memories came back to him, being expelled from the Blazing Dragonfang party and being unable to help much in his battle with the Sakura party even though they considered him their friend. At the same time, Ulisha and Elrid were standing in front of the city gate surrounded by countless skeletons trying to break in. Ulisha threw one of the crystals Kurt had made at them, and suddenly it shone brightly and wiped out all the skeletons. All the soldiers were amazed, thinking this was the power of the new magic workshop, and Mimiko and Ophelia were also impressed. This allowed the soldiers to advance and continue their plan. Meanwhile, Kurt finished forging the sword. He looked at it in disappointment and said, "I'm supposed to be a rank B artisan, but this sword isn't even rank D or C." Lise entered, saw the sword he made, and instantly loved it. He told her, "I got a little distracted and unintentionally imbued it with magic, so be careful. If you lift the blade, it will activate." Lise liked it even more and more, and Kurt said, "If you like it that much, you can have it." He noticed she was forcing herself to smile and hesitantly asked her, "Is someone chasing you?" Lise was surprised he noticed and confessed how guilty she felt because everyone was risking their lives for her. She said that Ulisha was now trying to reach the western ruins to eliminate the monsters. Kurt remembered he had been there before with the Blazing Dragonfang party because their leader wanted to carve his name there due to a demon forcing him. Connecting the dots, he realized Ulisha was heading there to face that same demon because it was chasing Lise. Kurt felt even more frustrated because he wouldn't be able to fight that demon himself. He told Lise, "I'm frustrated because I can't protect someone dear to me," making Lise feel embarrassed, thinking he meant he loved her, but he crushed her hope by saying, "I want to protect you, Ulisha, and all my friends." He also said he hated staying in the workshop doing nothing, and Lise agreed, saying she wanted to catch the culprit herself. Kurt then said, "All right, let's go and help Ulisha." Meanwhile, Ulisha and Elrid were struggling to fight the monsters and were completely surrounded, and suddenly Ulisha felt that something terrible was about to happen. And Liz goes to get ready to go with Kurt to the battlefield, and she wonders what could be the spell Kurt placed on the dagger he made, and Kurt calls her to leave quickly, and suddenly Liz finds someone behind her. On the other side, Yulshia and Raid are struggling on the battlefield, and Yulshia thinks they're lucky because most of the monsters were drawn to the power Generic used as a distraction, and he used magic crystals to create very strong lights in the forest, and she thinks the enemy's magic crystals are finished and theirs are also about to run out, so they must find the source of these monsters quickly. Suddenly, one of the monsters stabs Raid in his side, so Yulshia gets worried about him, and he tells her to move away quickly, and before she can react, the monsters rush at her quickly and unexpectedly. Cans from the Sakura party appears and saves her, and Raid wonders who they are, so the Sakura leader Danzo replies and says they're adventurers working for the artisan artist. And finally, they find the source of these monsters in the building, so Yulshia throws a magic crystal to create a strong light and escape from the monsters, and when they reach the place, Yulshia gives Raid a drink made from medicinal herbs for the wound in his side. And a swarm of monsters appears in front of them, so the Sakura charge at them to buy time for Raid and Yulshia, and they enter the building quickly, and they face skeletons on their way and eliminate them. At the same time, Marlphus is afraid of the Demon King's draining of her power because if she continues like this, she'll die at any moment, and a gate opens in front of him through which he sees what's happening outside, and he sees the magic crystals the soldiers are using to eliminate his monsters and is surprised, and decides to go greet them himself. On the other side, Yulshia and Raid reach the source of the monsters and skeletons, so Yulshia breaks a magic crystal at the spot where they're coming from underground, and the source gets sealed. Suddenly, the Demon King appears in front of them on his way out to the battlefield, so Yulshia gets excited and says this is the boss we need to defeat, so she runs toward him quickly and throws a magic crystal and breaks it with her sword, but the shock is that it doesn't affect the Demon King and he's impressed by the power of the crystal, so he tells Yulshia he could have been in danger if he didn't have eternal life. So Raid rushes at him with his sword and stabs him, but the Demon King deliberately doesn't dodge the strike because he knows it won't kill him anyway, and both of them are shocked when the Demon King's body heals instantly, and the reason for this great power is that he's draining Marlphus's strength and relying on it, so Marlphus thinks about breaking the magic circle that the Demon King created. At the same time, the Demon King tells them he's been watching their fight and honestly they're not bad at all. And he opens a screen showing the battlefield where Generic is fighting skeletons whose numbers are increasing strangely. So Raid replies with full determination, saying my knights will never kneel to you, and the Demon King says really? Then I didn't send enough, and suddenly he reopens the gate from which the monsters come out, and among them are very huge and terrifying monsters. So the Demon King tells them these men will destroy your walls easily, and might even stomp on the three at the entrance called Sakura. So Raid gets angry and tells him I won't let you do that, and he and Yulshia attack him at the same time and cut off his head and stab him in the heart. Yet the Demon King laughs mockingly and grabs his head and puts it back on his body and tells them I'll destroy this city and take the princess, and maybe I'll be kind and let you live so you can watch the princess being torn apart. So Yulshia gets nervous and Raid tries to calm her, telling her defeating this thing is the shortcut to solving everything, and Yulshia gets more confused because she doesn't know how they'll do that after cutting off his head and stabbing his heart and trying the magic crystal all to no use. The Demon King enjoys the look on Yuleshia's face because he loves the looks of fear, confusion, and most importantly, despair. On the other side, Marlphus is overcome by despair and thinks that she doesn't even have the strength to escape from the situation she's in or to break the magic circle. Not to mention she hasn't eaten in a long time, so surely hunger will stop her from doing anything and might even kill her, and that reminds her of Kurt's food which she wishes to eat again, and she remembers Kurt's voice too and thinks she's hallucinating. The surprise is that Kurt breaks the ground and emerges from beneath it after digging all the way from the castle to the hideout to avoid the monsters. And when he comes out of the hole, both he and Marlphus are shocked that they met again. And Marlphus is even more shocked when she sees the princess with him. And she thinks that Kurt found out she was involved in the assassination attempt on the princess. And of course Kurt knows nothing about that. And she thinks he brought the princess with him to convince her to abandon the path she chose. So Liz asks Kurt if he knows her, and he says yes. She's a member of the castle and one of the team members I owe gratitude to, and Marlphus replies saying former member of the castle, I'm not one of them anymore. So Kurt figures out the reason she's after the princess and asks her to make sure, and she tells him don't pretend you don't know. So he asks her is all this because of the ruler, and she replies yes. So he asks her the dumb question she didn't expect, so you did all this just to release your frustration after being expelled from the castle, and Marlphus realizes that he really doesn't know anything. And the princess gets very upset after learning that all of this was because of the ruler, and not just that, Kurt continues. And because you were expelled you drew that big design on the precious relics. I can't believe you're the one helping the demon, Marlphus, and Marlphus is more shocked by the stupidity she's hearing. And Liz gets really happy because Kurt is upset because of her. Then Kurt asks Marlphus where is Yulshia, still thinking she came to the place to clean, and Marlphus tells him she's on the upper floor. And before Kurt goes upstairs Liz stops him and tells him I'll go search for Yulshia. You clean the drawings that Marlphus made, and he refuses because the situation is dangerous and she shouldn't go alone. So she tells him don't worry I have the weapon you made, so he lets her go and Marlphus can't believe the stupid thing he just did. Kurt brings a mop and water, and Marlphus gets angry at his stupidity because the magic circle can't be erased that way, and as usual Kurt exceeds expectations, and the moment he touches it with the mop, he wipes the circle and it breaks, and Marlphus can't believe what she's seeing. On the other side, the Demon King notices that the circle has broken, so he's forced to dodge Yulshia and Raid strike, and Yulshia understands that his wound won't heal anymore after this. And she takes out a magic crystal, but he knocks it out of her hand quickly before she breaks it. Suddenly, disaster strikes, and Liz appears in front of the Demon King and he kills her, and Yulshia is in shock and can't comprehend what's happening. So the Demon King gets very happy and mocks her for coming to him, but the shock is that he hears her voice asking him which one of us is the fool, and her body turns into glowing butterflies and Liz appears unharmed, and the Demon King can't understand how she used an illusion when he smelled her scent and felt her body heat. So Liz tells him that it's because of the sword of deception made by our master artisan, and she remembers the person who appeared behind her while she was getting ready, and that person was herself, so she realized that the sword creates an exact copy of her that even the Demon King can't distinguish from the original, and she tells him there's no one this sword can't deceive, and of course Yulshia is still in shock from what's happening. So the Demon King fires at her again, but she disappears from in front of him, and she appears next to the magic crystal that he knocked from Yuleshia's hand. So she breaks it and finishes off the Demon King. On the other side, Kurt hears the Demon King scream, and Marlphus can't believe that someone managed to defeat him, and at the same time the monsters attacking the soldiers disappear because their summoner has died. And after the danger and those surprising events end, Yulshia scolds Liz for putting herself at risk. So Liz replies sadly saying, I just wanted to do something. I couldn't keep hiding. So Yulshia calms down and realizes she saved them, and Raid kneels and thanks the princess for saving them, and the princess tells him there's no need for that. One look at your wounds is enough for me to know how harsh the battle was, so I should be the one thanking you for protecting me in the city, and I'll definitely reward you. And we return to Marlfus, whose stomach is growling from hunger, and she's also thinking that even after killing the Demon King and the disappearance of the magic circle, the curse on her still hasn't broken. So Kurt shows up with some rice he made for her, and she wonders if she'll vomit if she eats it because of the curse, but she tries it anyway because she really wanted to taste Kurt's food, and suddenly she finds herself not wanting to throw up, so she keeps eating and finds that the curse is gone. And she realizes that this is Kurt's power and that they had wronged him all this time and didn't appreciate him, and that he was always protecting them without them even noticing. So Marlfus cries and apologizes to Kurt, and he reminds her she's apologizing for the drawing she made on the precious relics, and he tells her it's good you learned from your mistakes. Then Liz and Yulshia enter the room, and suddenly 2 soldiers appear from the hole Kurt dug, and Kurt is surprised and asks who they are, and Liz tells him they're here to arrest the one responsible for everything we went through. And they take Marlfus and leave, and Marlfus thinks Kurt surely won't abandon her and will defend her. And of course Kurt shocks her and tells her, I'll make you the food you like when I visit you in prison. Then he checks on Lizlot, and Yulshia stands watching them, still not realizing that those 2 saved her life. So she takes both of them and says let's go home, and Kurt thinks that he's gained wonderful friends and a home to return to, so he gets really happy. And at night they make a huge feast, enough for all the knights, and of course Raid and Generic are there, and they're all eating quickly because the food tastes amazing, but Kurt of course sees it the other way and thinks they're forcing themselves to eat because they're eating so fast, so he asks them, should I bring you other food? And Raid replies no, they're just very focused and eating that fast because the food tastes strangely good, and they all confirm that, so Kurt becomes very happy. Then Liz introduces Kurt to Raid because all he knows about him is that he's the chief of construction workers. So Kurt is surprised to learn that he's the commander of the knights and also the general responsible for the whole city. And Raid asks him, what do you think of the city? Did you like it? And Kurt tells him of course. The people here are all kind and the land and soil are good, so the vegetables are amazing. And I'm sure that's because of your great management. And Generic comes in and tells them no, don't be fooled, he doesn't know how to manage anything. So Raid hits him so he doesn't expose him. And suddenly they hear fireworks and get really happy. And Kurt tells them, I made them because I thought everyone would be happy. And the second surprise is that Generic and Raid realize their wounds are healed. And of course Kurt thinks it's normal that if you eat well your wounds heal instantly, not because he made it with his own abilities or anything. At the same time, a person named Tychon, one of the nobles who help Raid manage the city, enters a place where there's a girl fully restrained with a magic circle behind her, and she tells him, you came again? And we go back to the past in Kurt's village, which is called Hast, when Kurt was still a little boy. One day, he finds a girl sitting alone, so he asks her, are you the merchant's daughter? But she doesn't answer him. He tries to talk to her again, but she still ignores him, which makes Kurt really upset. Suddenly, she replies, my father told me not to talk to anyone from the village because their behavior is weird, and he doesn't want me to be influenced by their weirdness. So Kurt introduces himself, and she says, my name is Hildigard. Then Kurt takes her on a tour, and they play together until they reach the forest, and Hildigard finds a mulberry tree and eats from it. Suddenly, she feels a severe pain and loses consciousness. So Kurt realizes she ate the poisonous berries, and quickly starts making her medicine. He picks a flower and grinds it. Then Kurt wakes up and realizes it was all a dream. Yulshia tells him, we're close to the village that requested us. When they arrive at the village, the chief tells Yulshia that the water isn't reaching their farmland and that they need to solve the problem before all the crops die. Yulshia looks at the map she has and asks, isn't there a water reservoir in the neighboring village? Why don't you ask them to share the water with you? He replies angrily, we tried negotiating with them many times, but they never listened to us. That's why we thought of asking for your help and the powerful authority of your workshop. So Yulshia goes back to the others and finds Danzo alone. He tells her that the rest are up the hill because there's an old man who raises birds and he's suffering from back pain, so they went to help him while you finish your discussion with the chief. She tells him they're going to negotiate with the neighboring village. When Yulshia arrives at the other village, she meets a woman crying and begging her to save them because their reservoir is also about to dry up. Suddenly, someone comes in and tells them to go up the hill quickly. Yulshia gets surprised because she knows her team is up there. She rushes up the hill and finds a big lake of water. She asks Senna, these people brought us here claiming they have no water and there's a huge lake here? Senna tells her, it wasn't here moments ago, so she realizes it must have been Kurt who did it, as usual. She says to him, I heard you were helping with the bird care. He says, yeah, the birds were thirsty, so I drew up some groundwater from under the earth. Then he asks her, did you finish your discussion with the village chief? Suddenly, the chief appears along with the woman who was crying to Yulshia and thinks she was the one who created the lake, so they thank her and bow to her. Kurt says, Yulshia is amazing, not realizing that he was the one who solved the problem. After that, they leave the village after receiving a lot of gifts, and on their way home Kurt asks about Liz. Yulisha tells him she had to go back to submit a report about the monster attack that happened days ago, so she went to Prince Taikon. At the same time, Liz and Raid are sitting with Taikon. Taikon asks Raid to start talking, so Raid thanks him first for allowing him to join them at this table. Taikon says to the princess, "It's an honor that you visited me personally," and she replies, "I'm not here as a princess, I'm here as a representative of the master of the artisan craftsman." And she says to herself, Prince Taikon holds authority equal to that of a duke, but the truth is that he's forced to rely on others for his general funding, and he has connections with the royal and imperial families, so surely he's trying to win favor to increase his power. After a while, Taikon asks her, "I heard you used magical crystals that can eliminate monsters within a 500-meter radius, is that true?" Liz understands that he's trying to extract information about the master of craftsmen, so she says, "Rumors are just rumors. It surely wasn't that powerful," to avoid letting Kurt become prey in anyone's hands. Then he asks her, "Do you know the town you were in doesn't have a name?" She says, "I know, because the deputy is supposed to name the town when appointed, so that's why it hasn't been named yet." Taikon starts to get annoyed with her but doesn't show it, and says, "You're right, I'm having trouble selecting a deputy for that town, and that's because it's the closest town to the demon lands." Then, cunningly, he says, "And that's why I'm thinking of appointing your master craftsman as the town's deputy." Liz realizes it's a trick he's using on them to make Kurt appear in public so everyone knows him, so she says, "I can't make a decision about this matter on my own." He embarrasses her and says, "Strange, you're here as the representative of the master craftsman, so you're supposed to have full authority to arrange agreements, not to mention that this master craftsman saved a lot of people, so I doubt the knights would oppose him becoming deputy of the town." Liz gets worried about Raid's response, and indeed, he shocks her and says, "Of course, none of us would object to him being our deputy." The princess's reaction of rejection makes Taikon embarrass her again and say, "Are you trying to say there's a personal flaw in this master craftsman?" Liz gets angry and says, "There's no one as talented as him in this nation or the whole world," and she realizes she ruined the whole matter, and Taikon takes her response as an agreement that he will be the town's deputy. Then Liz goes to tell Yulisha what happened so they can figure out what to do, and Yulisha asks her, "Can we find someone to pretend to be the master craftsman?" Liz replies, "That would be hard because we won't find anyone who has the knowledge that qualifies him for that. Not to mention that all the knights here know who he is, and there's no one who can take Kurt's place because he's the greatest man in the world." She asks Yulisha, "Where is he now?" And she replies that one of the eggs they received as a gift from the village was about to hatch, so Kurt is taking care of it. On the other side, Mimiko is extremely exhausted from all the reports and work, so Ophelia says, "I heard they found Tristan dead in Bolin Castle." Mimiko replies, "I think he was killed, because someone else is the one who died and his soul was sold in exchange for summoning the Demon King. So surely the castle killed him to be the scapegoat." Ophelia asks her, "And what did they do with Marlvis?" And Mimiko replies, "I didn't kill her because Kurt acted like he was going to visit her." Ophelia notices one of the reports saying Kurt has been appointed deputy of the town, so Mimiko gets furious because she also has to solve this problem, and she receives another report that the egg has hatched. At the same time, Kurt calls Yulisha because the egg has hatched, and the shock is that instead of a bird coming out of it, a little girl about 3 years old comes out. The girl sweetly says to Kurt, "Papa," and everyone is surprised. Yulisha gets really upset and says to Kurt, "You do realize that human children don't come from eggs, so at the very least you should be aware that this girl isn't normal." And he says, "Yes," and she asks him to hand over the girl. He asks her, "What will happen to her if I give her to you?" And Yulisha replies, "I'll kill her." Kurt stops her, but she forcefully takes the girl from him. Kurt grabs Yulisha's hand and says, "I can't believe this little girl is a monster. I'll take responsibility for her. Let me raise her." But Liz tries to stick to her decision and not let his words affect her, and she thinks she'll go through with it, but the word mama from the girl defeats her. Yulisha gets shocked and imagines herself as Kurt's wife and that this is truly their daughter, so Liz quickly takes the girl from her so she doesn't think she's really her mother. Then the girl says to Liz, "Mama," and from how sweet she is, Liz drops her. Senna catches her quickly, and the girl says to her, "Sister." Kan steps in and says to Yulisha, "We, the Sakura, will take care of the girl and raise her to be a good daughter," and everyone agrees with him. The girl's laugh overwhelms Yulisha, so she can't say no, and she decides to let her stay. After that, they start thinking of a name for her. Liz now considers her to be her and Kurt's daughter, so she decides to put part of her name in the girl's name. Yulisha gets jealous and suggests a name made from Kurt's name, her name, and Liz's name. Liz refuses. Then the girl wakes up and finds them arguing. So when they see her, they reconcile again. Kurt notices that the girl calms everyone and makes them happy. So he says, I'll name her Aory, which means the area. And what he means is that she's the point that connects the three dots, me, Liz, and Yulisha. The girl gets really happy with her name. At night, a disguised woman from Mimiko's followers sneaks in on Yulisha while she's sleeping with Aory in her arms. Yulisha gives her a strand of Aory's hair and her saliva and tells her, give this to Mimiko so we can know what this girl really is. The next day, Kurt builds a very large nursery room for Aory, and he makes her lots of toys, a slide, and a swing. Senna plays with her, and Aory is really enjoying herself. Yulisha says to herself, this room is basically a prison for Aory. It has no windows and is sealed from all sides, so it's impossible to open from inside. I'm sorry I made you build a room like this, Kurt. After a while, Yulisha and Kurt say goodbye, and Aory tells them she wants to go with them. So Kurt tells her, we have work we need to finish, so guard the girl until we come back, and she agrees. On the way, Yulisha notices that Kurt is upset, so she tells him, let's finish our mission quickly and come back to play with Aory as much as we want. Suddenly, they hear Aory's voice coming from the carriage, so Kurt stops and gets out, and they're shocked to find Aory with them. They ask her, how did you get here? And she says, I jumped and found myself here. Kurt thinks there's a gap in her room, and maybe she got out from there. One of Mimiko's followers appears and changes her shape into a normal woman. Yulisha says to Kurt, the others must be worried about her, so I'll have the woman deliver a message to the town since she's heading that way. Kurt thinks about how amazing Yulisha is for figuring out the woman is going to the town with just one glance. Then he thinks about how selfish he is and how he always causes her trouble, and that she wanted to get rid of Aory to protect everyone. He starts crying because if he turns out to be wrong, he will have put everyone in danger. Yulisha comes back and tells him, we weren't wrong in our decision. Suddenly, an old man appears and says to them, I'm glad you came. You must defeat the Demon King and save the world. So Kurt replies, of course, I'll do my best. And Aory says, I'll fight too. Yulisha gets tense and tells them, no, this isn't the job we agreed on. Then the old man's daughter-in-law comes in, apologizing for what he said, telling them he's just joking, and she thinks Kurt and Yulisha are married and Aory is their daughter. They both get shocked, and Aory confirms that they're her mom and dad, making Yulisha blush deeply and unable to speak. So Kurt changes the topic and asks, what's the job you need us for? She explains that the animals haven't been eating their food for a while. Kurt looks at them and says, it's because the weather's been so hot lately, so they're suffering from heat exhaustion, and he tells her, I'll get them some food that relieves heat stress. She gets really happy and says she needs to go walk her father-in-law and asks them to handle it until she comes back. After she leaves, Kurt finds Yulisha still standing there, completely stunned by the thought of her and Kurt being married. Kurt goes to make food for the animals, and Yulisha is still thinking about how Kurt sees her as his wife, despite the age and height difference. She realizes she's starting to act like Liz and gets really annoyed, then calms down and tells herself, I don't have bad feelings toward Kurt, plus, he's the one I'm supposed to protect, but why do I feel pain in my heart? Meanwhile, Kurt finishes the task, and the animals start eating and regaining their strength. Suddenly, a dragon appears above them and heads toward Kurt. Yulisha runs quickly, draws her sword, and tells Kurt to move away. But Kurt stops her because he noticed the dragon just wants to eat the food he made. The dragon lands and starts eating and really enjoys it. Kurt sees that Yulisha is confused and tells her, yeah, you're from the city, so you don't know that in rural areas, it's pretty common for dragons to show up and ask for food. Suddenly, Yulisha smells blood. She follows it and finds the body of one of Momoki's phantoms. As she gets closer, she realizes it's the one responsible for protecting Kurt. She senses movement in the trees, draws her weapon, and the enemy appears. They get into a fight, and Kurt hears the sound of swords clashing and goes to check it out. Yulisha tells him, take Aory and run. The enemy appears, a strange-looking woman, almost like a monster, and angrily demands they hand over the child. Yulisha tells him to run fast, but Kurt refuses to move. The dragon takes him and flies away to protect him. Yulisha is impressed that he managed to tame a dragon, even though they're considered dangerous beasts. The enemy quickly attacks her, and Yulisha realizes she's very strong. She kicks Yulisha in the stomach, knocking her to the ground, and walks toward her, eyes full of rage. Yulisha stabs her with a fork lying on the ground and backs away, then asks, when you said, hand over the child, did you mean the baby dragon? The woman replies, knowing that won't help you because you're going to die, and she attacks Yulisha fiercely, knocking her sword away and slashing her stomach. Yulisha falls from the pain, and the enemy gets closer. Yulishia quickly throws a magic crystal at her, and when the woman breaks it, it explodes on her. Suddenly, she comes out from the ground with horns showing, and Yulishia freaks out when she realizes she's a demon. She's shocked because no demon has ever appeared with horns. The demon says, "A deep wound like that was unexpected, and you even cancelled my transformation spell, so that's why you could defeat the Demon King." Yulishia is surprised that she knows what happened with the Demon King and figures she must have been watching them even before the attack on the city, and that the child she meant wasn't the dragon. She realizes she's out of weapons and hopes Kurt has made it back to the city. Suddenly, Kurt arrives with the dragon and falls off its back, landing on a tree. She asks him why he's here, clearly refusing to run away. He brought the animals he fed with him, and they ride on top of it together. She asks about Aory, and he says she's waiting in a safe place. She jokingly asks, "Is it normal in your village for people to fight while riding dragons against someone way stronger than them?" He says, "Of course not. This is my first time taking such a risk. It's not common for a man to do something reckless just to protect a woman dear to him." She thinks to herself, "I know Kurt means dear woman as a friend or ally. I know that, so why am I feeling both sadness and joy at the same time? And why do I always think about everything Liz does in front of him? And every time my heart hurts, I have to admit that I love Kurt." Suddenly, they get hit by a fireball and fall to the ground. The demon charges another fireball in her hand. Yulishia takes Kurt's dagger, thinking, "Kurt never gives up and risked his life to save me," and the demon fires the fireball at her. Yulishia tries to use her magic to split it in half, but she fails, and the demon returns it into a ball again. Then comes the shock. Yulishia sees Aory above her. The demon gets shocked, stops the attack, and the fireball disappears. Yulishia realizes the child she meant was Aory. Strangely, the demon's mouth starts bleeding, and she quickly leaves. Right after, Yulishia loses consciousness, and Kurt gives her medicine, and she gets better. She asks Aory in confusion, "How did you fall on my head?" Kurt answers, "She didn't fall. She suddenly appeared, like she used teleportation." Yulishia thinks instant teleportation magic is something all mages are searching for a way to create, but if someone has a teleport crystal, they can use it to teleport to where they left their crystals. But Aory teleported without one. So she asks her to jump the same way again, and Aory says, "I can't." Then Kurt notices that the animals were hurt by the fireball, and the woman who asked for their help will be upset. So he quickly treats them and returns them to the barn. The woman gets really happy and thanks Yulishia, then asks about Kurt. At the same time, Kurt is riding the dragon, and the dragon tells him something. Kurt understands and says, "Take me there quickly." At sunset, Yulishia and Aory go out, and Aory asks her, "Are you okay?" She replies, "Yes, and I'm happy you and Kurt are safe." She remembers how the demon canceled the fireball and asks Aory, "Did you cast a fire spell on the demon?" Aory says, "No." So she confirms the demon canceled the fireball because of Aory. Suddenly, Kurt lands in front of her with the unconscious demon. He tells her the dragon showed him the location, so he went to check and found her bleeding heavily and unconscious, so he decided to treat her. When the demon woke up, she said, "Are you stupid? Showing mercy to your enemies will get you killed." He told her, "I think Yulishia and Aory would have died if your spell had hit them, but you cancelled it, and that's enough reason for me to save you." He threw her the medicine and said, "If you don't drink it, you'll die." When she drank it, she felt weak, so he said, "Sorry, but I'm a coward and weak, so I added a sedative to the medicine just in case. You'll probably sleep for around 3 days. Normally, a dragon slayer would kill dragons, and I won't let you do that." Then Kurt wonders if she'll understand what he's saying and says, "You're different from Hildigard." The demon gets shocked by the name and tries to say something but loses consciousness. At sunset, they return to the workshop and see someone coming out of the house welcoming them. Yulishia and Kurt get surprised, and Liz tells them that's the master of our artist workshop, and they're welcomed by the master of the artists, who says his name is Rikoto, so Kurt easily believes him and welcomes him. Rikoto thanks him for building this wonderful artist's workshop, but Yulishia thinks to herself that there's no way he's a craftsman master. She tells Kurt to quickly go make them food, and Sina leaves too, and before she can talk, Rikoto suddenly gets close to her, so she kicks him and her leg goes right through his body. She realizes that Liz created this fake character using the sword Kurt gave her. She tells Liz she went way too far with this joke and is surprised the sword can even create an illusion of a person who doesn't exist. Liz laughs and tells her that, well, here he is. This person is Kurt at age 20, according to how she imagined him. The illusion disappears, and a message from Mimiko pops up saying she will come and tell them the results of the investigation about Aory in 3 days. After 3 days, Mimiko comes and tells them, the summary of our research is, we don't know. They all are shocked, and Yulshia tells her, you can't just say you don't know. Mimiko explains that after running tests on the hair and saliva she collected from Aory, they were exactly identical to human samples. But strangely, they extracted a faint trace of a material from her nails, something similar to magic crystals, specifically instant teleportation magic crystals, and that's something impossible to be in humans. She tells them that according to the records, instant teleportation magic existed long ago, but now it's a lost magic no one can use. Kurt asks her, so Aory is really a monster? She replies, we don't know either. She looks human, speaks like a human, eats like a human, but she's not human, and I'm terrified of having a creature like that here in the workshop. I think the best is to use a curse seal to prevent her from using instant teleportation and keep her in the research lab. Kurt refuses and asks her, are you afraid of me? She answers, no. He asks her, is that because you know I won't attack you? And she says, yes, because I know you're a friend, and I trust you. He tells her, that's the same reason why I refused. It doesn't matter if she's human or not. Aory is kind, and I didn't feel any fear or worry when I was with her, so she will stay here, and I won't let anyone take her. Yulshia agrees with him and adds that Aory saved their lives once, and she tells Mimiko, since you didn't prove she's a monster, at least she's not an enemy to us. Mimiko agrees. After that, they bring up the topic of the dragon hunter who attacked them. Kurt tells her she's in the storage room downstairs, and before Mimiko goes down, Kurt asks her not to take her to prison. Mimiko goes down to the demon girl, thinking to herself, sorry, Kurt, but she's a demon and an enemy to us. Surely she'll face a fate worse than prison. She injects the demon to wake her up and asks her, how are you doing? The demon replies, a warrior only speaks when necessary. Mimiko says, I get it, so you're a demon warrior, and you talk this way as part of your warrior character, not because you've always spoken like this since you were born. Suddenly, the demon uses fire magic, but it has no effect. Mimiko tells her it's useless because there's a magic barrier around this room, and asks her, do you have allies outside? The demon replies, the loser obeys the victor, and you're not the one who defeated me. I will only listen to Kurt. So they bring Kurt to her, and he asks her, how are you doing? She replies, no problem except for my tied-up hands. And he apologizes because they asked him not to untie her until they finish talking. The demon asks him, you mentioned the name Hildigard, right? And he says, yes, I'm also eager to know about her. Yulshia asks him, who's that? And he replies, she was the daughter of a merchant who used to come to our village, and she had horns like this demon, so I thought they might know each other. The demon asks him, was she wearing the griffin crest? He tries to remember, then says, yes, and she's shocked and tells him, I want to rescue her. He asks her, what do you mean? And she replies, Hildigard is held captive under Margrave Tycoon's castle. They're all shocked, and Kurt gets upset, saying to Yulshia, we must save her. But she calms him down, telling him, we're not sure if she's telling the truth. She seems to just be playing along with your questions. She then asks the demon, if you want to rescue her, why did you target Aory? The demon replies, I was investigating the Margrave's goals. The Margrave was watching you, and then I saw a girl appear out of nowhere in your carriage. With her power, I could definitely rescue Hildigard. Yulshia still doesn't believe her and insists she's deceiving them. The demon tells them, look at my pendant, and as soon as Kurt sees it, he's surprised and says, this belongs to Hildigard. The demon tells him she gave it to her, and when she was fighting Yulshia, she stopped the fireball because she saw the same crest on Yuleshia's dagger. Kurt tells her, those daggers, I got them from Hildigard too. Mimiko agrees they should go rescue Hildigard, but under one condition. The demon must stay here, and if she tries to escape, they won't rescue Hildigard. Kurt asks her to obey and promises her they will rescue her. She tells him, my name is Soulflare. Suddenly, Aory appears in front of them using instant teleportation and says, sorry, I jumped again and found myself here. After that, Mimiko shows them the map of the Margrave's castle and tells them, Margrave Tycoon is 47 years old. His wife, Farnard, died 10 years ago after giving birth to his eldest daughter, Famel. It was said that Famel died last year due to illness, so in the castle, there's only one room that only the Margrave is allowed to enter, but we saw him taking food with him into that room. Soulflare tells her, the room was locked. I couldn't open it. Mimiko replies, the phantoms also couldn't open it. They said opening it would take time, even for an expert treasure hunter. Liz tells them, if we can't open it, let's make him open it for us. We'll create an illusionary thief and send him to that room. Make it look like he's using magic and going through the walls. The Margrave will have no choice but to open it. She tells them there's a 3-day festival next week, so they'll go there under the pretense of tourism, and the fake master of the artist's workshop will meet the Margrave. Yulxia asks her, "What should we do, Kurt? We can't leave him here alone with a demon," and she replies, "We'll take him with us and I'll explain to him that we're going there to study the local market to understand what kinds of goods are popular and their quality. And when we find the right opportunity, we'll go rescue Hildigard when the soldiers are worn out, and that will be on the 3rd day of the festival." After a week, they set off, and in the carriage, Kurt apologizes to Rikoto for dragging them into the matter of Hildigard. Rikoto replies, "Don't worry, surely. If one of the nobles has kidnapped a woman and imprisoned her, I can't allow him to do that as a member of the royal family." Kurt is shocked, and Liz notices she made the illusion say something it shouldn't, but she saves the situation by making Rikoto say, "Let's keep this a secret between us," and Kurt agrees easily. At night, they arrive at the city, and Rikoto excuses himself because he has something important to do. Yulxia asks Kurt to take care of Liz and Aory tomorrow, so he asks her, "What will you do?" She replies, "I need to investigate the matter of Margrave Tycoon," and before he can tell her, "I have to help you," Liz says, "We can't. We're going to the festival tomorrow to study the market, and besides, Aory really wants to see the festival with her father." So Kurt agrees for Aory's sake. And indeed, the next day, they go to the festival together and really enjoy their time. They buy rare fruit and eat it, and then Liz tells Kurt, "I heard you traveled all over our country when you were an adventurer, so surely you've seen many festivals, right?" He replies, "Yes, but I was always busy maintaining the team's equipment and guarding our carriage at the stable." Liz feels sorry for him, and he tells her, "Don't worry, it's not normal anyway for the person responsible for the household tasks to enjoy a festival, even though I always wished I could, so now I want to enjoy it as much as I can with Aory." Liz holds his hand and tells him, "Then we'll enjoy it together, the 3 of us today, to make up for all the lost time." They then go to a vendor who set up a challenge. If someone puts beans in a bag, and if it matches the weight on the other side of the scale, they win 10 kilos of beans for free. Kurt tries it and succeeds, and the vendor is shocked, telling them it's the first time anyone has done it. They continue their day at the festival, playing all the available games. Afterwards, Liz tells Kurt she wants to get away from the crowd a bit, so they go to a quiet park. She thinks to herself, "Now the mood is perfect for me to confess my love to Kurt, and surely he's happy right now, so when I tell him, he'll be even happier." But as she approaches him, she's surprised that he looks very upset. She looks ahead and sees Margrave Tycoon's castle, with Kurt staring at it in distress. She asks him, "Are you worried about Hildigard?" He tells her, "No, they all promised me they would rescue her, so I should trust them instead of worrying, but the truth that I can't do anything is hurting me." She reminds him that he freed her from her curse, built a wonderful workshop, and above all, makes food that they all love. He replies hopelessly, "That's just because I'm the one here. All these are things anyone in my place could easily do." Suddenly, Liz tells him, "I love you, and it's not just me. Yulxia, Aory, and everyone else too. We all love you." Kurt is shocked by her words, and she continues, "I know Rikoto said that as a member of the royal family, it's his duty to rescue Hildigard, but that's not important because we all love you and want to help you, and that's why we'll rescue Hildigard, not because it's our job at the workshop." Kurt starts crying and tells her, "I love you all too, and that's why I always want to be useful to you." She replies, "Then, as people who love each other, we all have to work and deal with the parts we each lack and complete each other." The next day, Yulxia was remembering when she had asked Kurt to craft her a sword to replace the one destroyed in the battle, so she went with him to the cave and they gathered the metal he'd used to make the sword. After that, they went to a blacksmith to use his tools, and when the blacksmith saw Kurt using a small pot, he mocked him, saying, "How are you going to forge a sword after melting the metal in such a tiny pot?" But then he was shocked when he saw the sword was super sharp and finely crafted, so he told them he's clearly no longer skilled enough in blacksmithing and set off on a journey to improve himself. Kurt then said he too was fired up and needed to improve his blacksmithing, and then told her he was glad she liked the sword, and Yulxia said thank you. "I'll really treasure it." After that, Yulxia got ready to go with Kurt to study the market like they'd planned, and when they met, she asked, "Aory hasn't woken up yet?" He replied, "Yesterday she was super excited at the festival and got tired, so we'll let her rest today," and Yulxia was happy she'd be alone with Kurt and thought to herself, "I don't know where Liz went with him, but I'm adventurous and know lots of hidden spots in this city. I'll show him the difference between me and Liz." Suddenly they heard a scream, and they found some bully bandits smashing up a shop, so Yulxia decided not to interfere since she wanted to spend her day with Kurt peacefully. But when she looked over, Kurt was gone, and he had gone over to the bandits trying to get them away from the merchant and his daughter. He asked them, "Why are you doing this?" And they answered, "The man's cakes are disgusting, so we were destroying them so no one buys from him." Kurt got annoyed, took a cake, paid the man for it, and tasted it, then really liked it and praised its craftsmanship and ingredients. One of the bandits shoved him to make him back off, so Yulxia stepped in and told them he's one of the artisan craftsman's employees, and they got scared because artisan workshops often have lots of nobles connected and it could bring them trouble, so their boss panicked and ran away. The merchant thanked Kurt and Yulxia, and Kurt noticed the man had broken bones. So Yulesia tried to make him wrap it up by giving him some of his homemade medicine, but Kurt said no, he needs a hospital urgently. That'll be better than just amateur-made medicine like mine, and he carried him and ran to the hospital, leaving Yulesia crying because she'd been left behind on her first outing with Kurt. Then the merchant's daughter started crying, and Yulesia comforted and reassured her. And suddenly she saw one of the phantoms walking around selling cactus as a cover to get Yulesia to come over. Yulesia approached and said she wanted to buy, and the phantom told her, this afternoon there's going to be a contest between the street stalls. And what needs watching is Gargel's restaurant that's won 2 years in a row, but this year there's a delicious meat bun stall joining for the first time. So Gargel's restaurant is in big trouble. And I heard they hired some thugs to mess with them, so Yulesia was shocked and upset that this was the reason her outing with Kurt got disrupted. After that, she went back to the merchant's daughter and comforted herself with the thought that they'd already chased away the thugs, and when Kurt came back, they'd continue the outing. When Kurt returned, he told the daughter that the injury was severe, so he'd stay at the hospital until tomorrow, and he said the shop owner had been super worried about the store and his daughter. Yulesia was already predicting what was coming and thought to herself, no, don't say it, and just like she expected, he said, "Can I help her at the shop?" I promised the shop owner and told him not to worry. She got mad because all this was because of Gargel's restaurant and told him, "Fine, I'll help you too, and we'll make sure we beat them in the contest." Kurt was surprised and asked, "Contest?" And the girl sadly answered, "Yulesia, we can't, because the thugs threw away all the meat we were going to use for the buns, so it's impossible to sell anything or enter the contest." Yulesia reassured her and told her they were with her, and she asked Kurt, "Can you quickly make buns with other ingredients?" He thought about it and said, "Yes, I can." So she asked, "Can you teach the girl too?" And the girl replied, "My name's Luna," and Yulesia promised her that Kurt would teach her and they'd win the contest, and when her father returned, he'd be super proud of her. Then Yulesia asked Kurt, "What can I help with?" And he asked her to go buy as much cactus as possible from the main street stall, and after that, go to our hotel and bring the red beans I won yesterday. And while you're getting those things, I'll dig here. And Yulesia was surprised and told him, "We're in the middle of the city, right?" And he replied, "Don't worry, I'll dig fast." So she told him, "At least ask for permission." After that, the judges arrive and the contest begins. The first restaurant the judges go to is Gargil, and they taste his buns and really like them, so they say, "Just as we expected, it looks like Gargel's restaurant will win for the 3rd time in a row. There's no chance for any other place to compete," and the restaurant owner laughs to himself thinking, "I paid that judge to be on my side." Suddenly, he hears people talking about some other buns that taste amazing, and the news spreads super fast among the crowd with everyone praising them, and he hears someone asking the people where those buns are being sold, and they tell him a shop called Batter Buns. Gargel's owner is shocked because the thugs he hired were supposed to have already destroyed that place. He rushes over to check the shop and finds a huge crowd there with people buying loads, and Kurt and Aory standing inside selling, and Yulesia helping in the kitchen, and Luna is the one making the buns. Gargel's owner looks beside him and sees a jacuzzi with people all sitting inside enjoying the hot steam. The judges arrive at the place after hearing about it and want to try it, so he tries to push them away and tells them, "Can't you see how black the bun filling is? It looks rotten already." But Luna steps forward with a tray of buns and explains the ingredients and asks them to try. They get nervous and ask her why the filling is so black. She tells them it's red beans that we boiled and drained, and this is a recipe from the Far East. The judge sniffs it and tells them it has a light fruity smell, so Luna tells them that's because of the cactus, and she remembers when Kurt told her the fruit absorbs sugar as it ripens, and that's why the juice inside it is bitter. But when you cut the fruit into cubes and add water and press it and boil it, you'll get the sweet cactus syrup, and she tells them she mixed the cactus syrup with the red beans to make this recipe. They're super impressed by what she says, and Gargil is standing there shocked, and they decide to try it, and they really like it. Gargil tastes it too and is stunned by how good it is, and Yulesia comes over and tells them she's happy they like the buns. One of the judges tells her the bun dough is fluffy and beautiful. What's the secret to making it? And Yulesia answers, our shop owner was pretty serious about it. He said that when you make the dough with water and baking soda and then steam it, it gives a soft, fluffy texture. Gargil asks her in surprise, water and baking soda? Where did you even get those things? And she tells him, from the hot springs. These buns were made using the steam from the hot spring water drawn from deep underground here, so we can call them hot spring buns. He tells her, but there aren't even hot springs here. That's just boiling water, and she replies, our shop owner dug one today, and he says, no way he dug a hole that deep in just one day, and she tells him, usually you'd be right. But would you say the same to an artisan craftsman's employee? He angrily asks her, and how did he dig a hole like that without the permission of Margrave Tycoon? Even if he's an artisan craftsman, he'll be punished for a crime like that, so she tells him it's okay, we got permission from Margrave Tycoon thanks to the third Princess Lieselot. And as for the spring, it'll be under the city's management from now on, and Luna adds, this place is called a rest area or a footbath. It gives a pleasant feeling to people. Gargill is shocked and can't process it, and he grabs the judge he paid off and tells him, you know what you're supposed to do? But the judge replies, sorry, I can't give this place a bad rating, and I don't need the money you promised me. After that, Gargill sees the thugs he sent in a corridor, so he runs over to them quickly and tells them, stop being lazy and go destroy that shop. I don't care if you get arrested doing it, I'll get you out somehow. But the thug leader replies in a girl's voice and says, that's a command I can't ignore. And Gargill is shocked and asks, what happened to your voice? The thugs disappear and Liz appears with members of the Phantom, and she tells him, your men are already in prison now, and Eulisia shows up behind him and tells him, by the way, I heard you're the one supplying the Margrave's cooks, and I heard you reuse leftover food in your restaurant, and the worst part is, they say you also use addictive substances to make customers come back, and that's illegal. He looks like he wants to ask, how did you find all this out? And she answers, all the cooks in the castle are your men, right? And Liz continues while making an illusion that looks just like him. When I took on this form, they told me everything easily, so he gets super angry and refuses to accept his fate, pulling out a knife and attacking Liz, but the Phantom pins him to the ground, and Eulisia tells him, you're under arrest for the crime of treason. He's surprised, and Liz tells him, let me introduce myself. I'm the third princess of the kingdom of Homeros, Lieselot Homeros. He's stunned, and the Phantom takes him away to put him in prison. After that, Liz tells Eulisia, it's unfortunate you didn't get to finish your outing with Kurt. I was surprised when I saw you coming to the hotel alone, and she replies, don't say that, I'm happy I made Kurt and Luna happy. That night, Margrave Tycoon is shocked when he hears that Gargill was arrested, and he's told that Gargill threatened Princess Lieselot with a knife, so he's shocked and gets super angry, and his assistant continues, and they also discovered all his bad deeds while investigating him, and since all the cooks here were his men, they got involved too and were arrested. Tycoon tells him, the princess is coming back here again tomorrow. How are we going to host a tea party without cooks? The assistant suggests the food from the restaurant that won the contest, which is batter buns, and tells him, we just got the judge's report a little while ago, so I think it would be a good idea for the tea party. And he replies, I guess the princess who was wandering around the festival won't mind eating from a street stall. Go get the cook from that shop tomorrow morning. He remembers when Liz came to him to get the permit for Kurt and left, and she told him, you came to visit me several times, and I'm the one who should be visiting you, and she answered, don't worry, I'm going to visit you tomorrow anyway, and I'm bringing our artisan craftsman master, and he asks himself, I wonder if she knows what I'm doing. I need to talk to their artisan master alone and tell him my wishes. The next day, Kurt hands the market study report to Rikudo, and Eulisia tells them, today we're going to rescue Hildigard, and she tells Kurt, our target is behind the kitchen. The Margrave is keeping her there so he can give her food without drawing attention, and Rikudo tells them, and the kitchen door has a complicated lock, so we need to investigate it and find proof that Hildigard is being held inside and convince him to release her. After Kurt leaves to go help Luna at the shop, Liz appears and Rikudo and the illusion Liz next to him disappear, and that's because to activate the illusion, Liz needs to be holding the sword, and also to solve the problem that the illusion can't touch anything and things just pass through it. She hides herself with the sword and holds things herself instead of Rikudo, and Eulisia tells her, we'll be counting on you when we go to Tycoon because you can't stand in front of him with the sword, and you'll also have to touch the things yourself instead of Rikudo so we don't get exposed. They set off on their way to the Margrave's mansion, and suddenly the Phantom throws a paper to inform Eulisia that Kurt got hired as a cook in the Margrave's mansion, and they're shocked that he got into the mansion's kitchen that easily. Very early in the morning, Kurt is preparing the cakes for the next day's contest and store opening when he hears Luna's voice and goes to see what's going on. He finds Margrave Tycoon's guards asking her to quickly prepare 100 cakes, and they also request that one of the cooks accompany them to the castle. Luna tells Kurt she can't leave the shop on opening day, so he replies, don't worry, I'll prepare the cakes quickly now and then head to the castle. He offers the guards to taste the samples he was just making while they wait, and when they try them, they're all shocked by the taste and faint while standing. Kurt asks them, are you all right? And the captain is surprised as to why he passed out. Kurt tells him, you must have been very tired, so you fell asleep while standing. The captain says, "No, I'm surprised all the fatigue I felt from guarding the festival is gone." Kurt replies, "It's normal for someone to feel refreshed after eating something sweet when tired." After finishing the cakes, Kurt goes with the guards to the Margrave's castle, bringing Aory along. When he gets there, he's surprised to find it's the same castle where Hildigard is imprisoned. Inside, he meets the Margrave's assistant, who tells him the cakes are for the princess. Kurt says he made them quickly because the guards asked, and he's worried he'll be punished for presenting the cakes unofficially. The assistant reassures him and asks him to stay in the kitchen until the meeting ends in case they need a cook. Kurt notices a locked iron door in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Liz is sitting with the Margrave and talking, while Yalicia is guarding outside and hoping Kurt doesn't do anything to ruin what they came for. At the same time, Kurt is playing with Aory and thinking about Yalicia and Liz. He looks at the door and thinks of opening it but backs off so he doesn't ruin what they're working on. Aory senses Kurt is upset and asks him what's wrong. He says, "One of my friends might be behind that door, but it's locked and I can't enter." Without hesitation, Aory tells him, "I'll get you in," and jumps on him, and suddenly she and Kurt are transported to a strange hallway. Aory tells him, "We passed through the door. Let's look for your friend." Kurt is surprised that he can teleport with Aory if he touches her. Still, he feels he shouldn't be here and asks Aory to return him to the kitchen. She tells him she can't. He remembers this happened before and figures she can't teleport twice in a row. Suddenly, he hears a voice behind the door ahead of him. It's a woman's voice. He tries to open the door, and when he does, he finds an old woman and is shocked that she's not Hildigard. Elsewhere, Margrave Tycoon says, "I'll get straight to the point," and asks Rikoto to become the king's deputy. Rikoto replies, "Before I give you an answer, can I ask a few questions?" and requests it be in private. Liz's illusion leaves the room, and the Margrave smiles slyly, while the real Liz is hidden and watching. She thinks to herself, "Just as I expected, that cunning fox is hiding something he doesn't want me to know." Rikoto starts speaking and says, "I'm not good at negotiations like Princess Lizelot, so I'll get to the point." He asks his first question, "What do you want from me?" Tycoon replies, "Are you interested in eternal youth?" Back with Kurt, he's still shocked by what he's seeing, and the old woman invites them in. Aory approaches her and asks, "Are you sick?" The woman is surprised by the question and replies, "Yes, I haven't had much appetite lately." Aory gives her one of Kurt's cakes and says, "You'll feel better if you eat this." She takes it and is surprised she can taste it since she hasn't been able to taste anything for a while. Suddenly, Kurt notices something strange and asks her, "Why do you look like an old woman?" She's shocked that he realized this and could open the door and asks, "Are you a famous magician?" As usual, he replies, "No, I'm just someone who does chores at a craftsman's workshop." She says, "Anyway, I think you can save the demon girl imprisoned below this room. Her name is Hildigard." Kurt is surprised she's here and says, "I know her. She visited my village 10 years ago." She asks him to help save her. Kurt takes out a petrified piece of bread and says, "I'll carve it with a knife and turn it into a shovel to dig." She's surprised and tells him, "Wait," then presses a hidden button in the room and opens a passage below. At the same time, Rikoto responds to Tycoon, "You could say that's the ultimate goal of our research as artistic craftsmen." Tycoon tells him, "I know something like that is hard to achieve, but surely there are other races that live longer than humans, like elves and demons. In the past, there were experiments to extend human life, and scientists tried to implant cells from those races into humans." Rikoto replies, "I know, and those experiments failed, and because of the side effects they caused, cell implantation operations were banned and made illegal." Tycoon says, "But someone with your skills can't create a drug for eternal youth with no side effects?" He adds, "I already received reports about the medicine you made in your workshop, and I heard it gave excellent results." Liz concludes that he's planning to use Hildigard's cells in his experiments, and she thinks of creating an illusion of a thief to lure Tycoon into the secret room where Hildigard is held. Rikoto asks Tycoon, "Why are you in such a hurry? Dealing with demon cells is prohibited and against the nation's policies, and you surely understand I won't agree to something like that easily, not to mention that you want to run these experiments regardless of the enormous cost. And looking at the furniture in this room, it's hard to believe you're someone obsessed with wealth or status." Then he asks, "Who do you plan to use this drug on?" Tycoon gets nervous and replies, "It doesn't matter who. What matters is that I need this drug." Liz begins the plan, and her illusionary version rushes in screaming, "There are thieves in the castle!" Yalicia enters and tells Tycoon, "The thieves are heading toward the kitchen as if they're looking for someone." Tycoon panics and tells Liz and Rikoto to stay in the room and tells Yalicia, "Stay here and protect them. Don't leave no matter what happens." Real Liz follows him while hidden and is shocked to hear him call out to Famel, his daughter, even though she's dead. Tycoon goes down to the room below when he finds the door open. Liz finds a strand of hair and uses her magical sense of smell to detect Kurt's scent, but she's confused because the hair she found is longer than Kurt's, so she decides to return to Yalicia first. Meanwhile, the old woman, Famel, opens Hildigard's cell door. Kurt enters and finds her chained with a magic circle behind her. Famel removes all the restraints and lets her down. Hildigard is surprised that Kurt came to save her. Kurt says, "You haven't changed at all since the last time I saw you 10 years ago." Hildigard gets upset at his words and suddenly punches him, saying, "It's all your fault. Ever since I took the medicine you made me 10 years ago." Kurt is shocked and apologizes to her, saying, "I might have gotten the ingredient ratios wrong in the medicine." She gets even angrier and says, "You didn't just do that, you also left the village." Aory gets upset for his sake and says, "Don't hit my dad." Hildigard gets even more furious and says, "You went off, got married, and had a kid while I'm stuck like this?" He replies, "You misunderstood. She just calls me dad, but she was born from a water bird egg." Hildigard calms down and says, "It doesn't matter. I'm hungry. Do you have anything to eat?" He says, "All I have is this petrified bread." Hildegard tries to eat it but can't. Famel interrupts them and asks Hildegard, "So your eternal youth is because of a drug Kurt made?" She replies, "Yes," and then asks Kurt, "Can you make the drug again?" He tells her, "I haven't seen any rainbow flowers since then, and that's a key ingredient." Hildegard apologizes to Famel that she won't be able to help her. Kurt is surprised when he hears the name Famel and asks, "Are you the daughter of Margrave Tycoon? I heard you died of an illness." She replies, "That's what my father told everyone, but since you saw my real age, I don't need to say more than that." Kurt gets nervous and thinks, "I don't understand anything," then starts to analyze what's going on. He thinks about how the Margrave was sad seeing her age day after day, and remembers the Sakura who told him that some people think strange thoughts, and he begins to understand what's happening. Tycoon enters, looking anxious, thinking that Kurt is the thief who broke in. Kurt tells him, "I'm not a thief. Anyway, what you're doing is wrong." Tycoon is surprised. Kurt continues, "I know everyone has different preferences, but that doesn't mean you can get away with what you've done." Tycoon replies angrily, "You don't understand anything." And Kurt responds just as angrily, "No, I do understand because I'm a father, and I love Aory, my daughter, and I'd do anything for her. But all children grow up, and you got upset seeing Famel grow older, so you chose to love Hildegard because she doesn't age. What you're doing is wrong. You couldn't handle seeing your daughter age, so you announced she died, and in her sorrow and suffering, Famel rebelled and drank a drug that made her look like an old woman." Tycoon is surprised because he didn't do that. Famel tells him she didn't drink anything. Still, Kurt goes on, "And that's why you imprisoned Hildegard, who doesn't age at all, just to make her your daughter." Hildegard tells him, "No, he didn't do that." She paralyzes Kurt to shut him up so he doesn't complicate things more. Then she asks Famel, "Are you sure?" Famel replies, "Yes, please do it, Hildegard. Please kill my father." Tycoon is shocked and runs away quickly so he doesn't die, and when he leaves the room he finds Yalicia and Liz. Liz tells him, "I know what you were trying to do. Your daughter is affected by the aging syndrome." So he's shocked and asks her, "How did you know?" She continues, "There's no proven cure for that syndrome, and even if you manage to break the curse, the scary part is that her aged body still won't return to normal, and that's why you were trying to stop her from growing older, and you wanted to use demon cells to create an eternal youth medicine." He replies angrily, "Yes, I fought to bring my daughter back to her state all year long and still couldn't find a way to give her eternal youth or even stop the curse. I did everything I was told to do, but that's enough. I'll sell my soul to summon a demon and save my daughter." Suddenly, Tycoon casts a demon summoning spell, but he's shocked that nothing appears. Liz responds, "You can't use the earth energy line anymore because digging the hot spring caused the flow of the earth energy lines to change." He's surprised that the permit he signed was for digging that hot spring, and he concludes that Liz made him sign the permit knowing it would prevent him from using the earth energy line, but that conclusion is wrong and Liz didn't mean it that way. Hildigard comes out behind him and points her sword toward Tycoon, so Yalicia is shocked and asks her, "What are you doing?" She tells her, "If we don't kill him now, he'll summon a real demon one day, and many innocent people will die because of him." And she asks Tycoon, "Did you really think that saving your daughter this way would make her happy?" Then she tells him, "That's why she asked me to kill you." Tycoon becomes very sad and says, "But I just want Famel to live even if it costs me my life, even if I have to sacrifice the lives of others." And just before Hildigard brings the sword down on him and finishes finishes him. She hears Fomel's voice stopping her, and when they look at her, they're all shocked that she returned to her youth and runs to her father and hugs him, telling him that Kurt was the one who cured her with the hot spring cake. On the other side, Kurt still can't move but can talk now, so he tells Aory, "There's a bottle in my bag with medicine, put one pill in my mouth," and when Aory gives him the medicine, he's able to stand and move again. At the same time, Taikon bows before Liz and tells her, "I don't know how to apologize to you," so she replies, "Attempting to summon a demon and imprisoning demons are both prohibited, both are serious crimes, and the fact that you hold a noble title can't protect you from these crimes, and I can't overlook what happened as a member of the royal family." Fomel steps in and tells Liz, "He did all this for me, so please punish me instead of him." And she replies, "I said I can't overlook what happened as a member of the royal family, but I'm here as Liz, an ordinary woman training in an artist's workshop, and that's why I'll take actions that benefit the workshop." And she gives Taikon orders that he will serve the workshop starting today. So Taikon agrees and Fomel is happy. Then Yulisha tells them, all that's left is for Kurt to erase the magic circle on the ground. And suddenly they hear someone's voice saying, "There's never a happy ending in the scripts I wrote." So Hildigard says to her, "You planner, these are the fantasies that caused your personal appearance?" And he replies, "Someone wrote over my scenario, and that's why I came to make some edits." She replies to him, "But I don't need any scenario." So Taikon tells them, "That's the demon who left Hildigard with me and taught me how to summon a demon." And the demon replies, "I thought the demons allied with you would attack the castle as soon as they found out you were being held, but strangely, none of them did anything." So she replies with a smile, "I warned them against having any conflicts with humans." He continues, "And that's why I thought I'd make that fool summon a demon." And thinking about it, even the attempt to incite the killing of the third princess was rewritten. This is the first time the scripts I spent so much time writing have been changed. Seriously, how did you do that? I'm amazed you were able to break the curse I placed on that girl. Taikon gets very furious after learning he was the one who did that to his daughter, and he attacks him but finds a barrier protecting him, and Yulisha quickly attacks with a sword and is about to break the barrier. So he's surprised that she has a great sword and says, "Facing someone with a great sword is dangerous." He pulls out a bottle and Hildigard screams, telling them, "Stop him quickly!" But it's too late, and he throws what's inside on the ground. The magic circle activates, and the same demon they defeated before appears, and he tells them, "Luckily, our bodies serve as temporary vessels, and when you defeated me, I had used up all my magic reserves, so I couldn't stay in this world any longer." Liz draws her weapon, but he fires magic at her hand and knocks it out of her grip. Hildigard fires her magic at him, and Yulisha and Liz attack at the same time, but he counters their attack quickly. They're surprised that Hildigard's magic had no effect on him, and they realize there's a barrier around him. He tells them the only thing that can harm him is the great sword Yulisha has. Liz realizes something and tells Yulisha, "This demon's spirit is exhausted, and that's why he relies on messing with our minds so his power increases." So Yulisha concludes that if they disturb his spirit, he won't be able to stay in this world long, and that they don't need to fight him, they just need to drive him out. The demon laughs and moves the arrows he had stabbed into their bodies and tells them, "What's the point in knowing this information?" Liz thinks they must not show their suffering from him so his power doesn't grow. Suddenly, Kurt appears and finds the demon in front of him, but he's not afraid and tells them, "It's been a while since I saw a demon like this, and I heard that if a demon appears before you, then there are many around him, and it will be hard to defeat them." So the demon gets furious because Kurt isn't afraid of him, and Liz notices that Kurt is provoking him. The demon tells him, "How can you talk about me so lightly?" and fires a fireball at him, but Aory redirects it and makes it hit the demon. The arrows inside Yulisha and Liz disappear, and the demon fires another fireball at Kurt, but Yulisha stands in front of him and absorbs it with her sword and returns the flames back in the form of a phoenix that burns him badly. Suddenly, the demon extends his hand and stabs it into Hildigard's heart, but she smiles, and the demon's hand turns to ash. The demon is shocked and very angry because his hand is supposed to pierce anything no matter how solid. Suddenly, Hildigard pulls out the piece of hard bread Kurt gave her, and the demon is shocked and asks Kurt, "Who exactly are you?" Kurt replies with his usual line, "I'm just a person doing household chores." The demon replies in shock, "There's no way an ordinary person like you could bake such hard bread." And the demon remembers he felt that sense of weakness before, so he asks Kurt, "Are you from Hast Village?" And Kurt replies, "Yes." So the demon screams and disappears. After that, Kurt tells them that demon kings always appeared in his village, so they used to make things to get rid of them, and before they knew it, all the demon kings were dead. Suddenly, another gate opens in the summoning circle, so Hildigard tells them that demon used a drug that allows summoning a demon without magic power or souls, and now after the drug's effects disappeared, the magic circle started trying to gather the magical power and souls it needs, and I think it needs magic from 100 people or their souls. Strange tentacles come out from the gate and try to pull them in, and unexpectedly, the Margrave's assistant Taikon enters with hot spring cakes. The tentacles attack him and take the cakes and go back, and the gate closes. After that, Taikon's assistant is in his room talking with Bandana, and she tells him, "Do you know the cakes weren't originally food? They were originally made to replace human soul sacrifices for demons, and eventually became a type of food and turned into the cakes we know today as ordinary. And if you offer the cakes to demons, you can make them grant you as many wishes as you want." So he asks her in surprise, "You mean Kurt can summon and command as many demons as he wants?" She replies, "Yes," and asks him, "What happened after that?" He tells her, "The Margrave announced that his daughter Famil is alive, and everyone was happy. And after Mimiko interrogated Hildigard, Soulflare returned to their homeland." On the other side, Kurt returns to the castle again, and Senna tells him, "You're a knight now, right?" So he tells Sakura, "I was really nervous because the ones who fought the demons and negotiated with the Margrave were Yalisha and Liz, and I didn't do anything." And he remembers when the Margrave Taikon told him, "The hot spring you made brought great relief to my people, so in honor of your work, I'll grant you the title of knight." Liz tells Yalisha, "What do you think of my plan? You became a baron now, and Rikoto became the king's deputy, and Kurt is now one of the nobles, and the entire workshop is under the protection of the Margrave Taikon." And she whispers to her that she took some measures to make Kurt the next Margrave of this land. After that, they celebrate this victory, and Rikoto tells Kurt, "You'll be my deputy here in the workshop because I have to return to the royal capital." So Kurt is shocked and has to accept the situation.